Burn live, y'all. Burn live, y'all. Marijuana keeping y'all connected. Hashtagging these red eye, changing the viewers' eye red, keeping underage, smoking on social media, killing myself for your entertainment, sitting here with friends and family, starting a cannabisation. Welcome to another show. I went live a couple of hours ago to check out this new camera that I'm working with. It's not the best camera of all, but it's a better camera to help me with my resolution because it was looking bad. So appreciate people up in here. I am seeing that a lot of people are joining me tonight. I appreciate it. Y'all are about to have me tear up. I never had this many people just jump into my live show. It is going down with the debate tonight. It is going to bound. I am showing the whole thing live. Um, they was showing this article and I was like, let me pause it right here if I really got into it or really got in the force because they was advocating for something. So I paused right here. The debate is supposed to be live on CBS News. So
tweet, the hashtag Oscar So White was trending around the world.
If anything has really powered Black Twitter, it's been humor.
If your food ain't right, we're going to tell you about that too.
We tend to create change, create culture and cool.
That's how movements happen on Black Twitter and go beyond more than that.
Black Twitter, the Twitterverse that changed a generation. Now streaming on the free CBS News app.
See, I was seeing that. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I seen that and I was highly curious. I was like, man, what the heck is that? I gotta check that out. So Black Twitter, the comedian good side or bad side of what's going on. That's what's up. I was really curious. I was wondering how it was going on. Ooh, I see that this camera is not looking that spontaneous, y'all. So give me a second. I do have some ideas of ways of straightening out things and making things look a little better. That looks a little bad. Okay, so I did that. Hopefully that straightens out. That took a little second to help straighten out a little bit because that was looking horrible, y'all. I'm about to I'm about to stop and start all over just a hot little second. If they don't clear up just a little bit, like I think my phone was just showing just a tad bit better. I do understand it is a horrible, horrible outtake. I do apologize.
To take importantly into account the more distant consequences of present actions. Share an example of a time you exhibited self-restraint when provoked by a short-term temptation. Number 4, presidents take an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. To understand how a candidate thinks about that oath they hope to take, a question about the most recent test of it. After the November 2020 election, did Donald Trump, in words and action, keep his presidential oath? Just asking a question does not guarantee an answer, of course. Truth serum is not allowed at debates, but a candidate who would choose not to answer any of these questions in a debate or interview does so because they don't have an answer.
And favorable thoughts to
All
the
right,
families.
y'all, the debate is actually on, and I seem to can't find it. I thought I had that part totally under control and was ready for y'all. So I do apologize for that real quick. So give me 1 second. I do know somebody that actually have the debate on their channel. We're just gonna go to his channel real quick until I'm able to find it myself.
This is a Morgan & Morgan legal alert. Google has allegedly violated...
I apologize in advance. I thought I had everything situated, but there we go, ladies and gentlemen.
And board memberships like you had with Boeing. Weeks ago, you met with Wall Street heavyweights, including leaders from JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BlackRock. Several other billionaire investors are reportedly ready to endorse you, or recently have, all of which comes with expectations. Aren't you too tight with the banks and the billionaires to win over the GOP's working class base, which mostly wants to break the system not elect someone beholden to it.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. First I'll tell you, just to respond to Ron, he continues to lie about my record. I actually said his Don't Say Gay bill didn't go far enough because it only talked about gender until the 3rd grade. And I said it shouldn't be done at all, that's for parents to talk about. It shouldn't be talked about with schools. In reference to donors coming on board, look, we will take support from anybody we can take support from, but I have been a conservative fighter all my life. I was a Tea Party candidate when I became governor. We opposed every single corporate bailout we possibly could. We passed tort reform. We passed one of the toughest illegal immigration laws in the country. We passed pro-life bills. We moved in unemployment from 11% to 3%. We took on the unions and we took on Obama when it came to the unions, the Syrian refugees, and everything in between. And so I've had a fight. And so as much as Ron says that, that's not true. But when it comes to these corporate people that want to suddenly support us, we'll take it. But I don't ask them what their policies are. They ask me what my policies are. And I tell them what it is. Sometimes they agree with me, sometimes they don't. Some don't like how tough I am on China. Some don't like the fact that I've signed pro-life bills. Some don't like the fact that I may oppose corporate bailouts. That doesn't matter. That's who I am. And that's why the most conservative grassroots group in the country, Americans for Prosperity, endorsed me last week.
Well,
not bad at the speech.
oh, they got 3 women moderating.
He didn't
this,
respond to the criticism. It wasn't about the Parents'
Home
Rights
cooking
Education
for
bill.
Nikki Haley.
It was about prohibiting sex change operations on minors. They do puberty blockers. These are irreversible. Talk to Chloe Cole. She went through this. Now she's an adult. She's warning against it. She may never be able to have kids again. That is what Nikki Haley opposed. She said the law shouldn't get involved in that. And I just ask you, if you're somebody that's going to be the president of the United States and you can't stand up against child abuse, how are you going to be able to stand up for anything? That is the truth. We have it on video.
I said that if you have to be 18 to get a tattoo, you should have to be 18 to have anything done to change your gender.
You said the law should stay out of it.
Nikki Haley lying.
We're going to get to this.
Her answer
in more
went
detail
viral.
later. Let's finish with electability.
On
but
X.
trust me, we're
Appreciate
coming back to
everybody
this issue.
up in here at the live
Mr.
chat.
Ramaswamy,
If you have
for
anything to
months,
say about
you
the chat, please
campaigned as
put
a
it in
unifier. Then you stood up at the
chat.
first debate and
I am
attacked all
finna
of your
switch
competitors.
to another live stream, so I'm not in somebody else's chat. I don't feel like that's right. So boom. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. They is playing me like it ain't no tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. Just let me go back. I apologize once again, everybody. Give me 2 seconds.
To the will of these donors. Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor. You actually started joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched for a very long time, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is. And now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that you are corrupt. And when I said they were bought and paid for, I meant the Republican establishment, not the Democratic establishment.
I thank you
Now
for
you have
everybody
Reid
in her
Hoffman,
special
the person who's
cannabis
effectively George
conservative page
Soros
on
Jr.,
Facebook. I do
funding
see y'all up
lawsuits
in here.
across
I
this
appreciate
country
y'all up in here.
against
I
Donald
appreciate
Trump to
everybody
keep
up
him off
in
the
here.
ballot,
You know what I'm
funding
saying?
left-wing
This is what I was
causes.
talking
We
about.
discovered this week
Come
that he is one of
together
Nikki Haley's
as a group.
largest supporters.
You know
Larry
what I'm
Fink, the
saying?
king of the woke
And if
industrial
you got anything
complex,
to
the
say, please
ESG
put it in the
movement,
chat.
the
Don't be
CEO
afraid.
of
I
BlackRock, the
will
most powerful
talk about
company
it.
in the world, now supporting Nikki
Anything up
Haley.
in here that
And to
y'all
say that
feel
doesn't
is
affect her is
necessary, let's
false,
talk
because it's
about it. Let's
after that
smoke
meeting
it.
later
Let's
that
enjoy it.
day
Sit
that
back.
she
I
says that
appreciate it,
every
everybody.
American needs to be doxxed by having their
Please
ID,
like, share,
their
and follow.
government-issued ID, tied to what they say on the internet. So I think that this is far more corrupt than I even imagined when I entered politics. But I will say this. It is going to take a leader from the outside with fresh legs from the next generation to unite this country. Not the broken politicians who are puppets of the puppet masters, but the actual people in this country. Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. I think it's going to take somebody whose best days in life are still ahead to see a country whose best days are ahead of itself. And I think I can reach that next generation better than anybody else in this race.
Thank you. Response.
Megan.
What is there to be said? We knew he was going to come out on
First
fire.
of all, we weren't bankrupt when I left the UN. We're people of service. My husband is in the military, and I served our country as UN ambassador and governor. It may be bankrupt to him, but it certainly wasn't bankrupt to us. Secondly, I did serve on the board of Boeing. I did a lot of work with Boeing when I was governor. They were a great partner to me. I served for 10 months. And then when they decided after COVID that they wanted to go for a corporate bailout, I've never supported corporate bailout, so I respectfully stepped back and got off the board. I love Boeing. They build good commercial airplanes. They build airplanes for our Air Force. I am proud of them. They employ a lot of people in South Carolina, but that's why I left the Boeing board. There's nothing to what he's saying. And in terms of these donors that are supporting me, they're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them, but I'm not going to sit there and
Jealous.
Let me get the governor in and then go.
So,
The governor's
and
in. Are
Vivek,
you
he
jealous?
wrote a book talking about ESG and these woke corporations and BlackRock. The idea that I want to do that in Florida, they were managing our pension, part of our pension. And then when they did the ESG, I took $2 billion away from BlackRock. We took action.
Don't lie.
This
I feel like it's only
ESG, they
should
call it
be 3
environment,
people up here on
social
this
governance.
stage.
And again, Nikki
Just
is
be
meeting
honest
with all
with
these
you.
people. They want to use economic power to impose a
wonder,
left-wing agenda on this country.
boy,
They
gonna say
want
anything,
basically
he
to
gonna
change
put it in,
society
put it
without
down,
having to
put
go
it
through the
into it.
constitutional
man, I got
process.
17
We've
people up in here. I
kneecapped it in the
appreciate
state of
everybody.
Florida.
I
The
got
next president
20.
of the United
Let's go to
States
chat
needs to be
rooms.
able to go to
Let's
that
go to group.
office
Let's go to
on day
place. I
one and
appreciate it.
end ESG. And the fact of the matter is, we know from her history, Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts. And that is not acceptable.
That's fire.
Well, I did write that book, Ron, and the irony is Nikki Haley was heaping praise on me when I
Wow.
wrote that book, but now I worry. I was warning about the woke industrial complex in this country as a warning. Apparently, she read it as a how-to manual, just like she reads George Orwell's books as well. And so I think that that's actually far more dangerous.
Yo,
than-
they
I think
cooking
it's really
her, bro.
important for people to understand.
They are
We're
cooking
marching
her.
towards fascism under Biden. Jack Smith has subpoenaed every last retweet that someone has issued from
realize
Donald
that
Trump in the
the
year
last
2020.
debate,
The only
anybody
person
that's watching,
more
I'm going ahead
fascist than
talking.
the
I'm
Biden
sorry,
regime
talking
now
over this. I hope
is
I'm not
Nikki
missing
Haley, who
nothing.
thinks the government
You
should
gotta
identify
realize.
every one of
Wow.
those individuals with an ID. That is not freedom. That is fascism. And she should come nowhere near the levers of power, let alone the White House.
I have to get to Governor Christie. I haven't
Facts.
forgotten
No,
about
but
you,
can
sir.
I just say
But
these guys-
can you speak?
I really appreciate
How
that.
you doing, sir?
Good to see you.
Can you please speak to the requirement that you said that every anonymous internet user needs to out themselves? They're both hitting you on it.
I would be happy to, and I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that. I will.
Yo, this
I'll
crowd
say
is
this.
bought and
What I
paid for,
said
bruh.
was that social media companies need to
agree.
show us their algorithms.
can't
I
definitely
also
agree.
said there are millions of bots on social media right now. They're foreign, they're Chinese, they're Iranian. I will always fight for freedom of speech for Americans. We do not need freedom of speech for Russians and Iranians and Hamas. We
That's not
need
what you said.
social media companies to go
That's a
and
lie.
fight back on all of these bots that are
I
happening.
think you
That's what
shouldn't
I
be
said.
able to
As a
pick and
mom,
choose which
as a
freedom of
mom, do
speech
I
for
think
who,
that
for
social
what.
media
No,
would be
freedom
more
of speech is
civil
freedom of
if
speech.
we went and had people's
And that's-
names next to
that's
that?
where I have a
Yes,
problem.
I do think that because I think we've got too much cyberbullying. I think we've got child pornography and all of those things. But having said that, I never said government should go and require anyone's
That's
name.
false.
She
What
said,
I
I
said-
want your name.
She
As president of
absolutely
the
said
United
it.
States, her first day in office, she said, one of the first things I'm going to do.
I said we
all
were gonna
social
get
media
the
sites,
millions
I want
of
your
bots
name.
to
She wants
Everybody
government
else
ID to
Hold on,
dox
that's what you're
everybody.
saying.
That's what
Hold on.
she said. You can roll the tape. She said, I want your name. And that was going to be one of the first things she did in office.
Yo.
And then she got real serious
Yo,
blowback. And
they're
understandably
double
so, because it'd
teaming
be
her,
a
bruh.
massive expansion of government.
They're gonna call this
We have
domestic
anonymous
abuse.
speech. The Federalist Papers were written
They're gonna say this is
with
domestic
anonymous
abuse, bruh.
writers. Jay Madison and Hamilton, they went under Publius. It's something that's important, and especially given how conservatives have been attacked and they've lost jobs and they've been canceled. You know the regime would use that to weaponize that against our own people.
Okay,
It was a
so-
bad
so I have
idea,
to say-
and she should own up to it. Come on, now, what are you
I'm
doing
gonna give you
here?
15 seconds, and then the governor, former governor of New
This
Jersey,
cracks
who
me up
deserves
because
to
Ron is so hypocritical because he actually went and tried to push a law that would stop anonymous people from talking to the press and went so far to say bloggers should have to register with the state if they're going to write about elected officials. It was in the, check your newspaper. It was absolutely there. I have never said government should
trample on your
Now, I know for a fact if I go to this
You're
one person
lying.
that's
This
watching the
section's
debate,
over.
it's gonna
Okay.
look that
Governor
up.
Christie.
I should have went to his
Just
debate
fact.
channel
Usually
because
not
I know
somebody who
for a
gets
fact
missed,
he's
but
gonna
okay,
fact
let's
check
go.
anything
Yeah,
that
you
looks
know
like
it's hard in
Okay, I
this
got
show.
Listen, you endorsed Donald Trump in 2016 and 2020. You gave him an A for his first term. Since then, however, you've turned on him, calling him a liar, a loser, a con man, and someone who cannot win. You've even said that you got into this race just to stop President Trump. His approval rating with Republicans is currently at 81%. Yours is at 25. Your best state is New Hampshire, and even there, 2/3 of GOP voters say they would be angry and disappointed if you won. Respectfully, Governor, you have not stopped Mr. Trump, and voters may wonder how you could possibly become the nominee of a party that does not appear to like you very much.
Yeah, well, look, Megan, it's often very difficult to be the only person on the stage who's telling the truth and the only person who is taking on what needs to be taken on. I look at my watch now. We're 17 minutes into this debate, and except for your little speech in the beginning, we've had these three acting as if the race is between the four of us. The fifth guy, who doesn't have the guts to show up and stand here, he's the one who, as you just put it, is way ahead in the polls. And yet I've got these three guys who are all seemingly to compete with, Voldemort, he who shall not be named. They don't want to talk about it. The fact is that when you go and you say the truth about somebody who is a dictator, a bully, who has taken shots at everybody, whether they've given him great service or not over time, who dares to disagree with him, then I understand why these three are timid to say anything about it. Maybe it's because they have future aspirations. Maybe those future aspirations are now, or maybe they're 4 years from now. But the fact of the matter is the truth needs to be told. And for us to go 17 minutes without discussing the guy who has all those gaudy numbers you talked about is ridiculous. I'm in this race because the truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit. This is a guy who just said this past week that he wants to use the Department of Justice to go after his enemies when he gets in there. I mean, the fact of the matter is he is unfit to be president, and there is no bigger issue in this race, Megan, than Donald Trump, and those numbers prove it.
Unfit.
Governor Christie,
According to Chris Christie.
we will be addressing that
I'm not
issue
sure Chris Christie
of
can
Donald
call
Trump in
anybody
just a
unfit.
moment, but I'd like to first get to
He's
some
definitely
questions
most
on
unfit.
Israel.
I'm finna switch
Governor
to somebody else's
DeSantis,
live
tonight as we speak,
because I bet it's just a little bit more interesting. Check this out, y'all. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Maybe it's because they have future aspirations. Maybe those future aspirations are now, or maybe they're 4 years from now. But the fact of the matter is the truth needs to be told. And for us to go 17 minutes without discussing the guy who has all those gaudy numbers you talked
Sorry
about
that, but
is
here one more time.
ridiculous. I'm in this race because the truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit. This is a guy who just said this past week that he wants to use the Department of Justice to go after his enemies when he gets in there.
He did
I mean,
not
the fact
say
of the
that.
matter is
He did
he
not
is
say
unfit to be
that.
president, and there is no bigger issue in
I
this
am
race,
so
Megan,
sick and tired of
than Donald
them
Trump,
saying
and those numbers
Trump
prove
be
it.
saying things that
Governor
he did
Christie,
not say. He did not say I'm going to
we will be addressing that issue of Donald Trump in just a
Now, I
moment,
picked this
but I'd
one
like to
because this
first get to some
guy
questions on
hates.
Israel.
I ain't gonna say he hates
Governor
Trump, but he's against
DeSantis,
Trump.
tonight
So,
as we speak,
be
the
a little
war
bit
is
more
back
exciting
on
for
in
us to
Gaza.
watch and go
Israeli
over
tanks
and
are
to
on the
discuss,
move and have
ladies and
surrounded the home of the leader of Hamas. 8 Americans have been held hostage in the tunnels beneath Gaza for 60 days now. American troops and warships in the Middle East are under attack. How far would you go as president to secure the release of those 8 American hostages? And would it include sending
Appreciate
American
everybody
forces into
watching.
combat?
We have to
A lot
look
of
out for
people
our
up in here.
people
I
when they're
appreciate it. I
hostages.
appreciate it.
Commander in
Just
chief, you
getting
have to do whatever you
started.
can
Get
to get them
comfortable.
done. But the overall issue with this is this administration is trying to hobble Israel from being able to defend itself. They have a right to eliminate Hamas and win a total and complete victory so that they never have to deal with this again. Hamas wants nothing less than a second Holocaust. They would wipe off every single Jew off the map. They would destroy the state of Israel if we could. Joe Biden will say they support Israel, and then they do nothing but try to kneecap them every step of the way. You should not try to direct their war effort. We should work together with them so that they can bring Hamas to heel. Look, I served in Iraq back in the day. I'm the only one running for president that served in the military. I understand that part of the world. It's not the best part of the world. We do have troops there that Biden is leaving basically as sitting ducks. And you have the Iranians that are attacking these troops, and he's responding with basically pinpricks. If you harm an American service member, you're going to have hell to pay when I'm president. We are not going to let our troops be sitting ducks. We also need to look at what's the underlying problem here. Iran. Biden is doing nothing to bring Iran to account. You got to turn the screws on them. Don't let them have any oil revenue. The money they get, they send to Hamas, they send to Hezbollah, and they foment jihad throughout the Middle East. So Biden has empowered Iran just like he's empowered other adversaries. We stand with Israel. They're our best ally in the Middle East. We have a unique relationship with them, and you will see a strong relationship when I'm the president of the United States.
But would you send American troops?
No answer.
This is the problem with the first three debates. Ron gets asked a question, and he doesn't answer it. Your question was very specific. You said, would you send American troops as commander-in-chief? And he went on to this minute and 30-second hosanna about his knowledge of the military and what we need to do, and didn't answer your question.
Right.
Look, when you're president of the United States, you're not going to have a choice whether to answer that question or not. Your generals, your Secretary of Defense, your Secretary of State, your National Security Advisor are going to present plans to you. They're going to look at you and say, do we go or don't we, Mr. President? And you can't give a 90-second speech about your military services.
So would you send American troops in to rescue those hostages?
Absolutely. If they had a plan which showed me that we could get them out safely, you're damn right I'd send the American Army in there to get our people home and get them home now. And I'll answer that question directly.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Mr. Ramaswamy,
Look at how DeSantis is
you have
standing.
said it was irresponsible for Ambassador Haley to call Hamas's terrorist rampage an attack on America, and for her to, quote, rabidly shout, finish them, end quote. The Hamas terror attack left dozens of Americans dead and was the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Why wouldn't it be a good thing to finish Hamas?
Finish them was purposefully vague in a discussion that included Iran, which is what I objected to. And I think it's, as U.S. president, you have to be responsible. What happened to Israel was dead wrong. What Hamas did was medieval. It was subhuman. It was immoral. And we have to call that out for what it is on October 7th. But to say that that was an attack on America fails a basic test. I mean, Nick, if you can't tell the difference between where Israel is and the U.S. is on a map, I can have my 3-year-old son show you the difference.
Oh, God.
That is irresponsible because it has major consequences, because that doesn't leave room for what actually is an attack on America. So I believe I have the strongest pro-Israel position actually on the stage, even though it's a little bit different than the standard GOP talking points. And it is this. The founding vision of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, the George Washington figure of Israel, what did he believe? He believed that we don't want, as Israel, to depend on the fleeting sympathies of the West and have our hands tied. I think Israel has an absolute right to defend itself to the fullest, without the U.S., the UN, or the EU, or anybody else second-guessing their decisions, as the Biden administration, guess what, is now starting to do. I think that's a more deeply pro-Israel position than anybody else, and it keeps the actual lines of accountability clear, because it is a pro-American position. And as leader of the United States of America, just as a father of 2 sons, my sole moral duty is to my family. As your next president, my sole moral duty is to you, the people of this country. That's how I'm going to lead. So I'll tell Bibi, you smoke the terrorists on your southern border, you go ahead and we're rooting for you. We're going to smoke the terrorists on our own southern border, and that's how I'm going to lead this country.
But Americans were killed.
Does that sound bad? That don't sound that bad.
Americans were killed in that attack. And so if you looked at this terrorist attack and the number of Americans, this would be one of the top 10 terrorist attacks in American history. So our own people were killed in that attack. And I think it's absolutely appropriate to point that out and to say that we're in this together, and we are going to work with Israel so that these people are brought to justice.
I agree with that.
Ambassador Haley, I'm coming to you.
We growing, y'all.
Iran is on the threshold of becoming a nuclear state. The Wall Street Journal reported that Iranian military leaders gave the green light for Hamas's attack on Israel. You said in last month's debate that, by contrast to the Biden administration's approach to Iran, you would, quote, punch them once and punch them hard. Were you saying that it's time to bomb Iran?
No, I was not saying it's time to bomb Iran, but I will tell you, I dealt with Iran every day when I was at the United Nations, and they only respond to strength. What they don't respond to is when you weaken the sanctions like they did on Iran that allowed China to send them billions to fill their proxies. What they don't respond to is when you give $6 billion for 5 hostages. That only makes them want more hostages. What they don't respond to is when they do 140 strikes on our men and women in Syria and Iraq, and we do nothing but just some small shots back. You've got to punch them. You've got to punch them hard and let them know that. That's the only way they're going to respond. So the way you do that is you go after their infrastructure in Syria and Iraq where they're hitting our soldiers. That's what you do. And then that's when they'll back off. The problem is you have to see that all of these are related. If you look at the fact Russia was losing that war with Ukraine. Putin had hit rock bottom. They had raised the draft age to 65. He was getting drones and missiles, drones from Iran, missiles from North Korea. And so what happened? When he hit rock bottom, all of a sudden, his other friend, Iran, Hamas goes and invades Israel and butchers those people on Putin's birthday. There is no one happier right now than Putin because all of the attention America had on Ukraine suddenly went to Israel. And that's what they were hoping is going to happen. We need to make sure that we have full clarity that there is a reason, again, that Taiwanese want to help Ukrainians because they know if Ukraine wins, China won't invade Taiwan. There's a reason the Ukrainians want to help Israelis because they know that if Iran wins, Russia wins. These are all connected. But what wins all of that is a strong America, not a weak America. And that's what Joe Biden's given us.
I want to say one thing about the tie to Ukraine, if I may. So foreign policy experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. I want everybody at home to note that I was the first person to say we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now, a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position, with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine. And I think those with foreign policy experience, one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could even state for you 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that they want to send our troops to actually fight for. Look at that. This is what I want people to understand. These people have, I mean, she has no idea what the hell the names of those provinces are, but she wants to send our sons and daughters and our troops and our military equipment to go fight it. So reject this myth that they've been selling you, that somebody had a cup of coffee stint at the UN and then makes $8 million after, has real foreign policy experience. It takes an outsider to see this through. Look at the blank expression. She doesn't know the names of the provinces that she wants to actually.
Vivek getting booed.
The donors right there. They're playing off the puppet master.
Hold on. Let me just say something here. You know, his reasonable peace deal in Ukraine, he made it clear. Give them all the land they've already stolen. Promise Putin you'll never put Ukraine in Russia, and then trust Putin not to have a relationship with China. Let me tell you something. That's no
That's
reasonable.
not my deal. That's not my deal.
Yes, it's exactly what you said.
You
do this at every debate.
You say
no. Don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. Okay? You say this. You do this. You do this at every debate. You go out on the stump and you say something. All of us see it on video. We confront you out on the debate stage. You say you didn't say it, and then you back away. And I want to say one.
Exactly what I said, Chris.
I'm not done yet.
Well, this is
now look.
This is
Ladies and gentlemen, call this a clown show. But you wanted somebody that's going to lead and stick up for the American
the most
people.
obnoxious blowhard in America.
Your version of it.
I want to say something else. We're now 25 minutes into this debate, and he has insulted Nikki Haley's basic intelligence, not her positions, her basic intelligence. She doesn't know regions. She wouldn't be able to find something on a map that his 3-year-old could find. Look, if you want to disagree on issues, that's fine. And Nikki and I disagree on some issues. But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years, which is longer than he's even started to vote in the Republican primary.
That's true.
We disagree about some issues, and we
comment
disagree
Kevin.
about who should be president of the United States. What we don't disagree on is this is a smart, accomplished woman. You should stop insulting
So
her.
I'm going to take this.
Wow.
So first of all, I think
This was his moment right here, ladies.
we learned three things right there. First of all, Chris Christie also doesn't know what provinces in eastern Ukraine he actually wants us to fight for. Chris, your version of foreign policy experience was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York.
Yeah.
So do everybody a favor, just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race.
A meal?
When it comes to Nikki,
A meal?
if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to go die in somebody else's war, you better, excuse me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I haven't heard the time when you aren't
and we're going to be
speaking.
done. So listen up to this. Is if these people want to send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, they've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over. Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually want to protect. And this is the people who have been touting their so-called foreign policy experience. It is intellectual fraud. These people are lying to you, the same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction in Iraq to justify that invasion, didn't know the first thing about it, yet they sent thousands of our sons and daughters to go die. The same people who told you the same in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is still in charge 20 years later. $7 trillion of our national debt due to these toxic neocons. You can put lipstick on a Dick Cheney, it is still a fascist neocon.
Thank
and
you,
you got
Mr.
to see that
Ramaswamy.
today.
Thank you,
It's
Mr.
Dick Cheney
Ramaswamy.
all over again in this party.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. 15 seconds.
Name the provinces. Neither of you could even name the provinces.
I think we've had enough of this.
Okay. She named him.
All right, Christie's.
All right. Let me just say this. You know, this is the kind of thing where he talks about experience. You know,
It's gonna be California's best holiday ever at Dennis Dillon RV. Not just one, every
against terrorists who tried to attack us again. And I know about the threat of terrorism and bullying in this country and around the world. And at that time, he was learning about the provinces in Ukraine, sitting with his smart-ass mouth at Harvard. That's what was going on.
Wow.
And so the fact of the matter is, and back then he was a Democrat. So, you know, the fact is that all he knows how to do.
Well, you were busy hugging
all
Barack
he knows
Obama,
how
getting
to
him
do.
elected.
Thank you.
All he knows how to do is insult good people who have committed their lives to public service and not say anything that moves the ball down the field for the United States.
All right, thank you, Governor Christie. We are going to take a quick break, cool things down a little.
All right, so they're taking a break, so let me give you my thoughts. Chris Christie, by far the best performance here. He did not have a great performance in the last couple debates. By far, best performance. He's saying obvious truths most Republicans don't want to hear.
Yet again, of course, he's going to say that he likes Chris Christie because Chris Christie is the only person up there going against Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, I got it on this show. I got him up here because he is a Democratical Party. If y'all tune into my show, tune into this page right here, Cannabis Conservative, which has 30 people up here. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody up in here chilling and rocking with me. I know y'all probably not used to this. Some of y'all probably, I'm not going to say it, but some of y'all probably seen that. I'm not even going to go there. Just appreciate y'all up in here. What's going on so far is a lot of people want to say it's a clown show, and I respect everybody that thinks it's a clown show. But again, I still believe there's a lot of people up in here who don't know who they're choosing, who don't know who their favorite is. So I want to give people the opportunity to hear people out. Do what y'all doing. Put some comments in the chat room. I highly appreciate it. Please hit that like, subscribe button, thumbs up, thumbs down. If you don't like it, I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I do comment. I am working on it, trying to build this channel. I think I am doing this literally for the potheads. So if y'all just a I'm saying it so bad. If you're just a conservative coming up in here, you didn't know what this was for. This is what this is for. These are for the pothead cannabis conservative people who understand what's going on, who wants to have a channel to where you can sit and smoke and listen and talk about things that truly does matter. That's what I love to do. I'm not going to ask for no money. I'm never going to ask for that. I do my own shirts. Well, this company right here, name, you never know. I never know the name. Things, Bonnet does my shirts. So we always have a good time. I talk about Biden. I talk about the illegal immigrants. I talk about the grooming. I talk about a lot of things that go on. I would like if everybody please like, subscribe, and stuff like that. Please come up in here. Now, only reason I'm saying that, because I do see how many people. I got 27 people, 26 people in my Cannabis Conservatives Facebook page. I highly appreciate that. I got 2 in my Facebook Burn Live page. I got 1 in my Blazing Burn Live Arts and Craft. I got 1 Burn Live on my Facebook page. Where YouTube page I got 2. I appreciate everybody up in here and doing their thing. Understand, please bring your marijuana to smoke. Enjoy the show. I hope we do learn something. I hope we do have a good conversation. That's all this is about, is learning, have a conversation, talking about things that truly matters to us. And if it doesn't matter to you, you know what I'm saying, I do apologize for wasting your time, but I do appreciate everybody up in here. Please get you some popcorn. I will be here during the whole show. If I can grow this just as much as how many people I got in here now, I will be having a lot more conversation, a lot more breakdowns. Please put in the comments things that you would like to talk about, things that are important to you. Things that are important to you or things that are important to me. I promise you, that's how I feel. Hey, if you want to put what weed you're smoking on, sometimes Cannabis Conservatives, my people, you can. Do not be afraid to express how you truly feel. If you think I'm a clown, if you think I'm an idiot, true indeed, that's your opinion. I highly appreciate your opinion. I'm never going to assault nobody or never put nobody down. I'm just going to always highly appreciate people putting in their opinions and stuff like that. And you took the time to comment. So thank you. Thank you very, very, very much. And right now, who I think is winning, since you heard that my guy right here thinks that, I had to calm down. Vivi Ramaswamy is the person that I think is winning at the moment. Most people think Chris Christie is the person that's winning. I'm sorry, they are back. So let's get back into this.
Polls show immigration and the crisis are among the most pressing issues for Republican voters right now. Both the issue of migrants crossing illegally into our country and the separate issue of fentanyl being smuggled in mostly through legal ports of entry. All year, News Nation has been at the border documenting the crisis. In 2023 alone, Border Patrol encountered a record 2.4 million migrants. All 4 of you have talked tough. The question now is, how realistic is the talk? So, Governor DeSantis, I'd like to start with you. You have pledged to send the military to the southern border on day 1 of your administration with orders to shoot, quote, stone cold dead anyone illegally entering with a backpack that you believe contains fentanyl. Critics have called this a shoot first, ask questions later policy that would amount to extrajudicial killing. You are a former military lawyer. Why do you think this idea of yours would be legal?
The drug cartels are invading our country and they are killing our citizens by the tens of thousands every year. We had a situation in Florida. There was an 18-month-old baby that was crawling on the floor of an Airbnb rental. There was fentanyl residue on the carpet and the baby died. Is this acceptable in this country? I know the elites in DC, they don't care. They don't care that fentanyl's ravaging your community. They don't care that illegal aliens are ravaging our community and overwhelming our community. The commander-in-chief not only has a right, you have a responsibility to fight back against these people.
And does that mean shooting first?
It means you're gonna categorize them as foreign terrorist organizations, and we will identify just like we would anywhere. When I was in Iraq, the Al-Qaeda wasn't wearing a uniform. You'd see anyone walking down the street, they all had man dresses on. You didn't know if someone had a bomb, an IED attached or not. And so you had to make a judgment based on intelligence, based on positive identification. But we're going to be able to get the intelligence on these cartel people. And here's the thing. If we had a wall across the southern border, which I support, this would not have happened. We need to build a wall across the southern border. I'll get it done, and I'll make Mexico is supposed to pay for it. Remember, here's how you do that. I'm going to have fees on remittances from foreign workers when they send the money back to foreign countries. We're going to tax it, and we're going to build the wall with that. So yes, you should have had that, but we don't have it. I'm going to build it, but we have to lean in on this problem. I am not going to sit there and allow mothers to lose more kids because of fentanyl overdose. I am not going to sit there and let sex trafficking go unabated or human trafficking go unabated. There's going to be a new sheriff in town, and these drug cartels better buckle up.
Super whiny, really whiny.
Ambassador Haley, you have pledged to catch and deport all migrants who are here in this country illegally. But then you said in Londonderry, New Hampshire last month that you will not deport those who are working and paying taxes rather than feeding off the system. Which is it?
So first of all, what I said is all of the 7 or 8 million illegals that have come under Biden's watch absolutely have to go back. We have to stop the incentive of what's bringing them over here in the first place. Biden just gave temporary protective status to 500,000 Venezuelans. That's 500,000 Social Security cards. That's 500,000 driver's licenses. And I know from my time at the United Nations, the first thing they do is pick up the phone and said, we came over, come on over. And that's what sends more. You have to deport these people so they know it can't happen again. For those that have been here longer than that, we've got to start seeing who is it, how long have they been here, have they been vetted, have they paid taxes, have they been working, and figure out who else is out there. But what I know is my parents came here legally. They put in the time, they put in the price. They are offended by those that are coming illegally. We can't let them skip the line. But when you talk about fentanyl like you did before, let's look at something else. Yes, I think we should send special operations over and take out the cartels. I think we should do a remain in Mexico policy so they never step foot in U.S. soil in the first place. But look at where fentanyl came from. Let's go to the heart of the matter. It came from China. That's why we need to end all normal trade relations with China until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. I promise you, they need our economy. They will immediately stop that. But this is where Trump went wrong. Trump was good on trade, but that's all he was with China. Because here he allowed fentanyl to continue to come over. He continued to allow them to he would give them technology that would build up their military and hurt us. He allowed the Chinese infiltration for them to buy up farmland, to put money in our universities, and to continue to do things that were harmful for America. We now have a spy base in Cuba and police stations, and Trump didn't do anything about it.
Thank you. China, though, I mean, listen, this is rich because when she was governor of South Carolina, she was the #1 ranked governor of bringing the CCP into her state. She wrote a love letter to the Chinese ambassador saying how great a friend China is. You can look at it. We put it on our website, rondesantis.com. There's also a video of her as governor standing in front of a Chinese flag with a Chinese business saying that she now works for them, talking about this Chinese company. So she's been very weak on China. Now, here's the problem. The rhetoric is different, but her donors, these Wall Street liberal donors, they make money in China. They are not going to let her be tough on China, and she will cave to the donors. She will not stand up for you.
15 seconds, Ambassador.
First of all, he's mad because those Wall Street donors used to support him and now they support me. The second thing is he has a company, a Chinese company, UGAS, that he just did a rally there last year. They have given you $340,000 in campaign donations between them and their employees. They are tied to the Communist Chinese Party. Jinko Solar is another one. They went and expanded. You gave $2 million in subsidies.
I banned China from buying land in the state of Florida.
The Department of
I injected the Confucius Institute. Nikki Haley brought Confucius Institutes to the universities in South Carolina.
That is not true.
I injected them. So I have a record of standing up and do what's right. And
Chris Christie's up there only
she's trying to say
to
things like
destroy
that.
Trump.
Even the liberal media
He
groups
doesn't care
that
about
usually,
the
if I say the
policy.
sky
He
is
doesn't
blue,
care
they'll
about the
fact check me and
book.
say that's wrong. They looked at her
He
charges.
doesn't care about
They
none
said
of
it was
it.
totally false, that they
I'm
could not
just gonna
find
be honest
one
with you.
instance of me recruiting a Chinese business coming to
You
Florida. You know why?
interrupting
Because we never
anybody about
recruited any
anything
Chinese
important?
businesses.
No.
Thank you.
Wow.
Mr. Ramaswamy, over the past year, fentanyl has killed more than 75,000 Americans, 1,000 of them right here in Alabama. You have vowed to use the military to, quote, annihilate drug labs inside Mexico, something the president of Mexico said would be a hostile act. But fentanyl can easily be made anywhere, and labs that are shut down can easily and quickly be replaced. Are your tough enforcement policies offering false hope to a country racked by addiction?
To the contrary, I don't think it's going to have to come to that if we deal with the actual demand side problem that we also have in this country. I mean, the easy part is talking about how we're going to use our military to secure the border. I will, and I believe that everybody else wants to do the same thing. But the harder part is dealing with the crisis of purpose and meaning, the mental health epidemic raging across this country like wildfire. And there's a reason why after the opioid crisis, you see fentanyl. And even after we get fentanyl, and we are going to be sure to make sure we do it, this one is worse for many reasons. They're illegally lacing it into pharmaceuticals, so it's more dangerous. But we're deluding ourselves. The real false promise here is thinking that we're going to have dealt with that underlying mental health epidemic in this country by just dealing with the demand side of it. But I want to get back to this issue of the root cause, because a lot of these are coming from labs in Wuhan, China, of all places. Drug materials that are going to the Mexican drug cartels that they're pumping across that southern border like a modern opium war. I think it is going to take a U.S. president that's going to have a very different conversation with Xi Jinping than what Joe Biden just had in California. I will tell Xi Jinping, you will not only not buy land in this country or donate to universities in this country, U.S. businesses won't expand into the Chinese market until they're playing by the same set of rules. And the same country that's putting fentanyl into illegal pharmaceuticals in Mexico, it's no coincidence, is the exact same country that also unleashed hell on the world with the COVID-19 pandemic. We also have to hold them accountable with every financial lever that we have available. That is what it actually means to stand with a spine. And you mark my words, if we're willing to stand with the spine, China will absolutely have to fold because they're in a tougher spot than we are. And then we're back to playing by the same set of rules.
Thank you, Mr.
That's the answer.
Ramaswamy. Thank you. Let's talk about the economy. Ambassador Haley, homeownership has always been part of the American dream, but it's increasingly out of reach for younger Americans. This year, mortgage rates reached 30-year highs. Home prices have risen $190,000 over the past decade. Is this the free market at work? Or should the federal government do something to make homes more affordable?
Well, first of all, I mean, you're exactly right. My daughter just got married, and I saw how hard it was for her and her husband to buy a home. Right now, the average homeowner in America is 49 years old. You've got young people everywhere. That used to be the American dream, and now it's out of reach. But you look at what happened. You first of all look at what the Fed did. The Fed did a terrible job when they allowed all of that money to go through. You saw the Treasury bond rates go up. That affected mortgage rates, that affected automobile rates, that affected insurance rates. And so now we have a high interest rate. You've got a supply issue. Ask any builder. The supply issues have continued to be there. That's caused the rate to go up. And then you've got insurances that have gone up. And so what you have is a lot of younger people who, one, can't afford a home, but two, the banks aren't lending them any money. They've made the regulations so hard that they don't want to give loans on mortgages anymore. So what we have to do is we have to open it up. We have to, one, grow our economy so that people have more money in their pockets. We've got to look at the supply chain and make sure that we are funneling that so that builders don't have to sit there and go overseas to find things. And then we need to make sure that we really stop paying down this debt, make sure that we stop the borrowing, stop the spending. I'll veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels, because our kids are not going to forgive us for all the spending that happened. And as much as everybody wants to talk about how Donald Trump had a good economy, $9 trillion in debt, he did just in 4 years. And we're all paying the price of that, including those mortgage prices.
We're going to come back to President Trump, I promise. Governor DeSantis, the latest News Nation Decision Desk poll found that inflation tops the worries of American voters. 61% say they're very concerned, and the working class is hardest hit. Economists say this was fueled by a glut of federal spending. The Biden administration has added $6 trillion to the national debt so far. But President Trump wasn't exactly a penny pincher.
Set up for Nikki
His
Haley
administration
to
added
win.
$7.8
I'm
trillion.
gonna get into that during
Do
the commercial
Republicans,
break.
including President Trump,
really
share
kinda
the
think
blame
this
for
stuff is set
inflation?
up for her
And
to
what
win.
concrete
Just
steps would a President
saying
DeSantis
myself.
take to help Americans make ends meet?
The borrowing, printing, and spending of money was both parties in Washington, D.C. That's just a fact. these Republicans in Washington have spent. It's driven your prices higher, and it's driven your interest rates to the point where you can't afford. I met a young fella in Iowa. He had graduated college a couple years ago, and he's like, Governor, I don't have a chance. I'm gainfully employed. He's like, I have no chance to afford a home and start a family. That is taking the American dream away from people. So we're going to get the inflation down. We're going to get the interest rates down. We are going to reduce spending.
Remember, inflation is down to 3.2. It's almost down to exactly where you would want it.
All of our domestic energy for production. Lower your gas prices. Lower the price of fuel. That's going to help the economy. It also helps jobs.
And it's not almost down to where you want it.
Young people are these student
There's
loans.
no way.
Now, I
Stop
don't
playing with
support
me.
having a
There's
truck
no
driver
way
having
near.
to
I
pay a
can't wait till
student loan for
commercial
someone
break.
that got a degree in gender studies.
I
That
got
is wrong.
50
We
people
should not
up
have
in here.
taxpayers
Come
do
on,
that.
let's
What I'm going to
go.
do, though, is I'm going to get to the
41.
root
Let's
cause
go.
of the
Let's
problem. These
grow.
student loans are going to be backed
All
by
right,
the
y'all. I appreciate everybody
universities
up in here.
because they
Please
need to
like,
have an
follow, and
incentive to
share.
produce gainful employment for people. They should not be indulging in ideological studies. They should be focusing on things that work. And we're going to take some of this money and we're going to move it to actual vocational training. In Florida, we doubled apprenticeships. We have more truck drivers. These are in-demand skills. Don't let anybody tell you that the only way you can be successful is through a 4-year brick and ivy degree. That's one way you can be. It's not the only way. And we're going to fix that problem in the United States of America.
Wow.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you praised cryptocurrency like Bitcoin as an
Is they even
opt-out
gonna
from
ask
our,
Chris
quote,
Christie a
broken
question?
financial architecture, and you oppose efforts to
Do y'all
regulate
notice
it.
that they have not
The head
really
of the
asked him
largest
no
international crypto
questions?
exchange just pleaded guilty to allowing his platform to launder money for terrorists, including Hamas. You say your cryptocurrency plan will, quote, ensure economic freedom for Americans, end quote. Won't it also ensure economic freedom for fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists?
Look, fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists have been defrauding people for a long time. Our regulations need to catch up with the current moment. The fact that SBF was able to do what he did at FTX shows that whatever they have as the current framework isn't working. And I think it is nothing short of embarrassing that Gary Gensler, the current leader of the SEC, in front of Congress, could not even say whether Ethereum counted as a regulated security or not. And so I think that this is just another example of the administrative state gone too far. Here's the dirty little secret in American politics today. The people who we elect to run the government are not the ones who are even actually running the government. It is the bureaucrats in those 3-letter agencies that are writing regulations that Congress never gave them the authority to write. And the good news is a US president can absolutely fix that. That takes a US president with a spine. So what I've said is in my administration, by the end of year 1, we will have a 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats. We will shut down government agencies that should not exist.
You can't tell
we
me
will rescind any
Vicky
regulation
Ramaswamy
that
don't be
fails
out
the
here
test
putting out the
of
truth.
West
He don't
Virginia
be
versus
putting
EPA,
people
which is
on
the most
Front
important Supreme
Street.
Court case of our lifetime, that said if Congress didn't delegate that to an administrative agency, then it's unconstitutional. These are seismic changes. These are big changes that the next president can deliver without asking Congress
Right?
for
He got the
permission
sad
or for
face with his lip
forgiveness. And I
poked
want
out.
people to
The
understand that
sad
distinction because people have been sold myths by politicians for a long time saying, I'm going to work with Congress to do this or that. Much of what you've heard on the stage from the other politicians fit that description. They need Congress. The things that I'm promising you, this is what the leader of the executive branch gets to do under Article 2 of the Constitution.
Thank you, sir.
Cut down the bureaucracy. That's how we
Thank you,
grow our
sir.
economy and put the Federal Reserve in its place. This is part of the crypto discussion.
No.
90%
Mr.
headcount
Ramaswamy,
reduction at the Fed.
you're out of time. 15 seconds, Governor
So
DeSantis.
one of the dangers that we're going to face, Biden wants, is a central bank digital currency. They want to get rid of cash, crypto. They want to force you to do that. They'll take away your privacy. They will absolutely regulate your
Biden is not going to do that.
president. We take the idea of central bank digital currency and we throw it in the trash can. It'll be dead on arrival.
I agree with that. Gotta get a break. I have a whole second hour to get to. It's exciting. And when we come back, we got a big subject. Huge, you might even say, Donald Trump.
Did Chris Christie even get to speak?
Chris Christie did speak at all, though he did not. This is not the Chris Christie show. Ladies and gentlemen, now, like I said, you got 3 women's up here. I really think this whole debate is set up. Oh, did I accidentally pause this?
Speak during that entire section. That was,
like I said, I really think this was set up for Nikki Haley to win. It's amazing that You know what I'm saying? You only got 3 people up there that's really running to face Donald Trump when it all said and done. I think the election is February 8th, so I hope everybody that's watching this, if you, like I'm saying, if you're sitting up here watching this, I hope you're watching this because you probably like, I don't know who I want to choose, what is going on in the world for as important to these candidates. Are these candidates saying anything that's truly important to me? Are they relating to you and the problem that you see? I don't know. Please put down in the comments. For everybody that's in my cannabis conservative Facebook page, I highly appreciate it. Shout out to y'all specifically because y'all are the deepest. I don't know if y'all smoke weed, but you know what I'm saying, it does say cannabis conservative, but you know what I'm saying, I'm not trying to offend nobody, but it does, you know what I'm saying, if y'all, whatever y'all doing in there, I highly appreciate what's going on. I did see a comment that said about Chris Christie leading over like he's not even standing up to the situation. This whole last debate, he didn't even say nothing. So it's like, why is he up there? Who is even promoting him? Who is donating money to him? I really wonder. I'm kind of curious. It amazes me to what you think. I do got this guy on here that I am watching from his platform because he is looking at things as a Democratic point of view. So let me just let y'all hear his point of view. He does like to fact check things on point. If y'all want me to start doing that too, I can. It's no
YouTube,
problem.
I estimate 50,000 aren't currently subscribed. Consider hitting that subscribe button.
See, he's worried about his subscribe. I'm not really worried about y'all subscribing because I'm saying if y'all like this channel, y'all be back. This is the most I have ever had up in here. I highly appreciate it. But to be honest with y'all, when it comes to stuff like that, it seems like y'all only coming here during the debate. So I highly appreciate it. I hope this is just a time for y'all just to catch up on things that y'all normally didn't know that was going on. What happened with the super courting with, there's no way Colorado is not putting Trump off the ballot. They already dismissed that. That's unconstitutional to take anybody, any leading candidate off of. I see if Trump was still running and he wasn't leading in the poll, he was just embarrassing himself. He didn't have a chance, but most people that are watching this show can see and do understand that Trump has a very, very good chance of winning the presidency. Like he might be the next president again to get his next 4 years off and finish up his last 4 terms and be on out the way. Now, how do people feel about that? It's up to you. That's why I go over this. I talk about this stuff almost every day. If I don't go live every day, I go live every other day. I'm just trying to build this channel for the people that really don't get into politics for real. I know a lot of people don't get into politics. That's why I started this channel, to really get into politics. I was a pothead, just sitting here chilling and talk about weed all the time. Everybody talk about weed all the time. So I was like, man, I need a pothead that talks about politics. So I got into politics. And so now I sit here, smoke weed, talk about politics. I do talk about the illegal immigration that's problem, the border problem, anything that's true news, like the shooting I have not talked about today. I guess I will kind of talk about it later on, probably tomorrow or maybe after the debate, depending on how tired I am or if I'm still up and wired. That's why I'm drinking on a Red Bull. Hopefully I can stay up and talk about it. It is happening. It actually went down while I went live during my last. They are back live, so let me get back into it. I highly appreciate everybody up. Please like, subscribe, do all that. Facebook if you want to.
The front runner in this race,
Let's
Donald
go.
Trump. We invited him to come tonight, as you know, but he declined to come. But we'd like to ask you a couple questions about him now. Ambassador Haley, former President Trump recently promised, if he's reelected, to bring back and expand his program restricting immigration from Muslim countries. Here he is in Iowa on October 16th.
No longer will we allow dangerous lunatics, haters, bigots, and maniacs to get residency in our country. We're not going to let them stay here. If you empathize with radical Islamic terrorists and extremists, you're disqualified. You're just disqualified.
Ambassador Haley, do you support President Trump's plan for ideological screening?
Well, I don't think that you have a straight up Muslim ban as much as you look at the countries that have terrorist activity that want to hurt Americans. You can ban those people from those countries. That's the way we should look at it, is which countries are a threat to us. You look at what came across the southern border. What worries me the most are those that came from Iran, from Yemen, from Lebanon, those areas where they say death to America. That's where you want to be careful. It's not about a religion. It's about a fact that certain countries are dangerous and are threats to us. A president has one job, and that's to keep Americans safe. And that's what we've got to do, is make sure that we have good national security in that process. And that's the way you should look at it, is where the terrorist threats are, how we're going to deal with it, and what we're doing about it. And the biggest threat we have right now is communist China. But you have to also look at what Iran and Russia are doing as well. And we need to be paying attention to that. That's why we have to focus on things like cyber, on space, on artificial intelligence, and not just the regular things that we've always focused on.
It's not just terrorism, though. That's important. But look what's happened in Europe. You have more anti-Semitism in Germany than at any time since Adolf Hitler. Why? Because they imported mass numbers of people who reject their culture. Europe is committing suicide with the mass migration, and it's illegal and legal. Nikki Haley said the other day there should be no limits on legal immigration, and that corporate CEOs should set the policy on that. There needs to be limits on immigration, and we should not be importing people from cultures that are hostile. So, for example, I said with the Gaza, you had some of the squad wanted to import 300,000 people from the Gaza Strip. I said, no, we're not taking anyone from Gaza because of the anti-Semitism and because they reject American culture. So we've got to get smart about this. We cannot let the United States be like Europe.
So
Governor
there's
Christie.
an overhanging fruit here, if I
Christie.
may just hit this point, because it relates to what they just said. There are things that the government can do right now that
I'm glad
nobody's
they're letting
talking about
everybody
amongst
speak.
the professional politicians in this race. What about all of the illegals who are already here? Here's the answer. There's 287G in the law. That is a provision that already allows ICE agents to deputize or allow local law enforcement to enforce those ICE warrants. And it shocks me that nobody in the Republican Party is talking about it, because there are 1 million then officials, law enforcement officials in this country. And against that backdrop, we absolutely have the ability to deport anybody who's in this country illegally.
Thank you,
We need to
Mr.
be talking about
Ramaswamy.
more of this
Beautifully
in
said.
Thank you. Governor Christie.
I actually did that as governor of
No
South
people,
Carolina.
man. You better watch out for
asked
Vicky
last night in
Ramaswamy.
Iowa whether he would be a dictator if he wins a second term in office. Donald Trump quipped,
Now, he
no,
get his
quote,
own
except
Pacific
for day
question.
one,
20 minutes
promising
later.
to seal the southern border. He has also pledged to begin the largest deportation operation in American history, saying that migrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country. He has pledged to round up and expel an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. What do you make of that plan?
I think it's completely predictable. I mean, look, he's made it very clear. There's no mystery to what he wants to do. He started off his campaign by saying, I am your retribution. 8 years ago, he said, I am your voice. This is an angry, bitter man who now wants to be back as president because he wants to exact retribution on anyone who has disagreed with him, anyone who has tried to hold him to account for his own conduct. And every one of these policies that he's talking about are about pursuing a plan of retribution. And yet, at the first debate, my three colleagues on this stage, when asked if he would be convicted of federal felonies, would they still support him, raise their hand, looked into the camera, and let everybody know that they would still support him, even if convicted of federal felonies. Federal felonies, by the way. Federal felonies which involve our election process, federal felonies which involve the most sensitive of our governmental secrets, federal felonies where he instructed others to commit crimes, folks who are now agreeing to go to jail because of what they did in his name. So do I think he was kidding when he said he was a dictator? All you have to do is look at the history. And that's why failing to speak out against him, making excuses for him, pretending that somehow he's a victim, empowers him. You want to know why those poll numbers are where they are? Because folks like these three guys on the stage make it seem like his conduct is acceptable. Let me make it clear. His conduct is unacceptable. He's unfit, and be careful of what you're going to get. If you ever got another Donald Trump term, he's letting you know, I am your retribution. He will only be, Elizabeth, he will only be his own retribution. He doesn't care for the American people. It's Donald Trump first.
Trump out the
Thank you,
way
Governor
and let
Christie.
Joe
Governor
Biden
DeSantis.
win another 4 years of
Booing
time.
and cheering.
When he tried to beat Joe Biden,
Governor
though.
DeSantis, Donald
That'd be the
Trump will be
question.
older on
Will Chris
day
Christie
one
try
of
to
his
beat Joe
second
Biden?
presidency than Joe Biden was on day one of his first. You have said Trump is not the same man he was when he ran in 2016. Your campaign is running ads showing Trump confused. And you have said he has, quote, lost the zip on his fastball. You seem to be saying Donald Trump is no longer mentally fit to be president. Is that what you think?
So they're going to spend the whole
He is
segment bashing him?
Father Time is undefeated.
Okay.
The idea that we're going to put someone up there that's almost 80 and there's going to be no effects from that, we all know that that's not true. And so we have an opportunity to do the next generation of leaders and really be able to move this country forward. We also need a president that can serve 2 terms. I don't think Donald Trump, I think he's going to have, I don't think he'd be able to get elected. The Democrats want him to be the nominee. We see that. They are going to turn the screws the minute if he got the nomination.
But do you think he's
you're going to see
mentally
it.
fit to be
I
president?
think we need to have somebody younger.
Appreciate
I think when you get up
everybody
to
up
80,
there.
I don't think it's
Please
a
like,
job for that.
subscribe,
Let me just
all that
respond
good
to some
stuff.
of the things there. Look, the media is making a big deal about what he said about some
Put
of his
your
comments.
comments
I would
up.
just remind people that is not how he governed. He didn't even fire Dr. Fauci. He didn't fire Christopher Wray. He didn't clean up the swamp. He said he was going to drain it. He did not drain it. He said he was going to build the wall and have Mexico pay for it. We don't have the wall. He did say in 2016 he'd have the largest deportation program in history. He deported less than Barack Obama did when Barack Obama was president. So some of these policies he ran on in 16, I was cheering him on then, but he didn't deliver it. Here's what I can promise people. 100% of the things I promised as governor, I delivered on those promises. I beat the left time and time again, and that's what I'll do for you as president. We got to start winning again as a party. Yes, win the election, but we've got to start getting these issues. I will go in and wreak havoc on this bureaucracy. You will see people fired, and we are going to bring a reckoning for how this government handled COVID-19.
Chris, you had your chance to wax eloquent on Donald Trump.
Why isn't he just answering the question? The question was very direct. Is he fit to be president or isn't he? The rest of the speech is interesting, but completely non-responsive. And if we were in a courtroom, they'd strike the answer and say, Governor DeSantis.
No, they wouldn't. They would say that
you're a smart man. No, they would.
No, they wouldn't.
They would
Chris.
strike the answer
No, they wouldn't.
because you're not answering
You
it.
just
Is he
don't
fit?
like. You
Is he
have your.
fit?
You have
No,
your thing. You
what's
have
up?
your thing.
No, I don't have my thing.
We don't.
He's the thing. Is
We
he
do
fit
not
or
want
isn't
to
he?
do.
Yeah,
someone
that's
that's
not
about to
what
be
I say,
80 years
y'all.
old. Doesn't mean
Chris
that somebody
Christie
is
can beat
fit,
Trump,
elected.
okay.
That's up to the people that
She gotta beat Joe
I think
Biden.
we have an opportunity to do
No,
somebody
Governor
who's in.
DeSantis, let him finish.
Ron,
Okay.
is
I
he
think we have an opportunity to do
Guys,
somebody who
no
is in the
talking
prime
over
of their
each other.
life.
Yes.
We don't have to
No
worry
talking
about all this stuff with
Ron.
president. We can get it done, and we'll do it.
I'm going to come to you. Finish.
Look, Father Time is undefeated. I don't know how he would score on a test, but I know this. We have an opportunity to nominate someone and elect someone for 2 terms who's going to be spitting nails on day one and for 8 years
So you
deliver
do think he's
big
fit?
result.
You
We
do
should
think?
not nominate somebody
He won't answer.
who's almost 80 years old.
He's afraid to answer.
No, I'm not.
You have to either you're afraid or you're not listening.
No, it's not.
There's a simple
You don't
question.
want to hear
Is
the
he
answer.
fit?
Hey, nobody can hear this. No one can hear you. They can't hear you. You finish, and then you get it back.
All right. Look, I'm a simple guy. Okay, I hear the question and I answer it. Is he fit or isn't he?
I love this
I'll
crowd.
concede you're fit, Ron. You're a new generation. You're 44 years old. I wish I was still 44 years old. Okay?
45.
So, well, congratulations. I'd still take 45. Is he fit or isn't he? And this is the problem with my 3 colleagues. They're afraid to offend. And
See,
let
I
me
wanna-
tell
I
you
wanna-
something.
I wanna
If
say
you're
this, Chris,
afraid,
hold on, Mr.
if
Ramaswamy.
you're afraid to offend Donald Trump, then what are you going to do when you sit across from President Xi, you sit across from the Ayatollah, you sit across from Putin? You have to be willing to offend with the truth and answer the question. Fit or unfit?
Okay, listen.
Fit or
I
unfit?
promised Ron DeSantis a minute and not a full minute.
I've got
a second.
It is not about
You can weigh in
offending.
and then we're moving
It's
on.
about pointing out, do you want to elect somebody who will be older than Biden was when he went in 2021?
That's not the
I
question,
don't
no.
think he's as bad as Biden was at all. But I do think that over a 4-year period, it is not a job for somebody that's pushing 80. We need somebody that's younger. We need somebody that's going to be able to go in there and clean house on day one
So
and
here's-
do it for 2
Go ahead.
terms. And I'll be able to
Here's
do
my
that.
issue with all 3 of my other colleagues on this debate stage.
Everybody can agree.
Is all
He's not
3 of them
answering.
have been licking Donald Trump's boots for years for money and endorsements. Ron DeSantis, you've been a great governor, but you would have never been one without actually begging Donald Trump for that endorsement.
And you attacked him in your book a year ago.
Same thing with Chris Christie as a lobbyist, begging them for COVID money for his special interests in New Jersey, prepping him for the debates last time around. These people are now Monday morning quarterbacking some decision he made. I think the real enemy is not Donald Trump. It's not even Joe Biden. It is the deep state that at least Donald Trump attempted to take
Oh
on.
my
And if you
God.
want somebody who's going to speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. Why am I?
He pulled the deep state stuff on me. I asked him who's in it. The only name he could come up with is Susan Rice.
God, that the government lied to us for 20 years about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11, that the Great Replacement theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory, but a basic statement of the Democratic Party's platform, that the 2020 election was indeed stolen by big tech, that the 2016 election, the one that Trump won for sure, was also one that was stolen from him by the national security establishment.
Oh my God.
That actually
Thank
put
you.
up the
Lost
Trump-Russia
his
collusion
mind.
notes that they knew was false. There's a reason why I'm the only person
That'll
on
do
the
it,
stage
sir.
who can
Thank
say
you.
these things. That's
Thank
what it's
you.
going to take, not people who are licking his boots one time and now Monday
Okay.
morning quarterbacking him and criticizing him when it's convenient.
Governor
Thank you.
Christie. You do not favor a ban on trans medical treatments for minors, saying it's a parental rights issue.
Uh-oh.
The surgeries done on minors involve cutting off body parts at a time when these kids cannot even legally smoke a cigarette. Kids who go from puberty blockers to cross-sex hormones are at a much greater likelihood of winding up sterile. How is it that you think a parent should be able to okay these surgeries, never mind the sterilization of a child? And aren't you way too out of step on this issue to be the Republican nominee?
No, I'm not. Because Republicans believe in less government, not more, in less involvement with government, not more in government involvement in people's lives. And you know what, Megan? I trust parents. And we're out there saying that we should empower parents in education. We should empower parents to make more decisions about where their kids go to school. I agree. We should empower parents to be teaching the values that they believe in their homes without the government telling them what those values should be. And yet we want to take other parental rights away. I'm sorry. As a father of 4, I believe there is no one who loves my children more than me. There's no one who loves my children more than my wife. There's no one who cares more about their success and health in life than we do. Not some government bureaucrat, not some, you look at these jokers down in Congress. It takes them 3 weeks to pick a speaker. And up until 2 days ago, they couldn't promote somebody in the military in the United States Senate who earned their new rank. And we're going to put my children's health and my decisions in their hands for them to make those decisions, for Joe Biden to make those decisions, for me and for my wife. Let me just say this. This is not something I favor. I think it's a very, very dangerous thing to do. But that's my opinion as a parent, Megan. And I get to make the decisions about my children, not anybody else. And every parent out there who's watching tonight, you start to turn over just a little bit of this authority, the authority they're going to take from you next, you're not going to like. I'll stand up for parents each and every time.
So there are laws banning smoking or drinking by a certain age.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Let me tell you something. I have a follow-up question for him, and you guys are going to get to weigh in. Okay? Here's my follow-up question. You talk about parental rights. Let's talk about them. When you were governor in 2017, you signed a law that required new guidelines for schools dealing with transgender students. Those guidelines required schools to accept a child's preferred gender identity, even if the minor's parents objected.
Not true.
And it said that there is no duty for schools to notify parents if their son or daughter changes their gender identity, allowing this serious issue to remain a secret between the school and a child. How is any of that pro-parental rights?
By the way, that's simply not true.
You're doing what you accuse me of, Chris. It is absolutely true.
That's simply not true. That's simply not true. That law was put into effect in 2018 and regulated in 2018 after I was out of office.
The guidelines.
No, we did not, Megan. We did not issue those guidelines, and you're wrong about that. Simply wrong. I have stood up each and every time.
So I think if this is one issue that's disqualifying, it's this one.
I stood up every single time for parents to be able to make the decisions for their minor children.
But
every single time, parents should make those decisions. And by the way, you know what? Every once in a while, parents are going to make decisions that we disagree with. But the minute you start to take those rights away from parents, you don't know that slippery slope, what rights are going to be taken away next and what's going to be focused on.
As a parent, you do not have the right to abuse your kids. This is cutting off their genitals. This is mutilating these minors. These are irreversible procedures. And this is something that other countries in Europe, like Sweden, once they started doing it, they saw it did incalculable damage. They've shut it down. I signed legislation in Florida banning the mutilation of minors because it is wrong. We cannot allow this to happen in this country. And I know Chris disagrees with me, and I think he has an honest position. Nikki disagrees with me. She opposes the bill that we did to ban that. She said the law shouldn't get involved with it. You said the law shouldn't get involved with it. She also, though, I think, and this flows from what she did as governor of South Carolina, they had a bill to try to say that men shouldn't go into girls' bathrooms. And she killed that bill, and she bragged that she killed that bill. Even to this day, she bragged that. I don't think men should be going into little girls' bathrooms. I think it's wrong, and I think we have every right to protect them from that.
What a nightmare.
I am going to come to you. I promise to have seconds. Go quickly.
I think the North Star here is transgenderism is a mental health disorder. We don't let you smoke a cigarette by the age of 18.
Oh my
We don't
God.
let you have an addictive drink of alcohol by the age of 21. And I just challenge Ron DeSantis to go one step further and support what I think is clearly
A lot of
within
people are
the
against
authority
trying to
do using
protect your
federal funds,
kids. When
just
it
like
comes to
Reagan
protect
did
the
in
kids, it's like
84
we
for the
overstepping.
Highway Act that said the minimum drinking age needs to
We're
be
gonna talk
21.
about it.
We can do the same thing when it comes to banning genital mutilation or chemical castration.
Okay.
I know Ron's been
Okay. Let me
unclear
get to
about that on the
Ambassador
federal
Haley.
level. I'm crystal clear. That's where I stand.
Got
And
it.
That's a mental health disorder. That's where
it.
we need to be at.
Go ahead.
So first of all, Ron has continued to lie because he's losing.
No, it's not a lie.
You are lying.
You
so
said it
first of
on
all,
tape.
So first of all, I will say that when I was governor 10 years ago, when the bathroom situation came up, we had maybe a handful of kids that were dealing with an issue. And I said, we don't need to bring government into this, but boys go into boys' bathrooms, girls go into girls' bathrooms. And if anyone else has an issue, they use a private bathroom. Now, 10 years later, we see that this issue has exploded. And this shows how hypocritical Ron continues to be. When he was running for governor and they asked him about that, he said he didn't think bathroom bills were a good use of his time. You can go look that up.
I signed a bathroom bill in Florida, so
But
that's
you said-
obviously
no.
not true.
Who's most anti-trans here? Put your hand up.
So the idea that you would say that I was
signed
against
it, you
that.
didn't. You killed it, I signed it. I
We
stood up
didn't.
for little girls, you didn't do it. And there was this going on. I was actually just in South Carolina. Some of the legislators told me at the time
They
there
said,
were
"Sir?"
boys going into the girls. That's the
There
whole
were
reason
not.
why they
No,
did
no,
it.
no, no, no.
And so they say when she does that explanation that doesn't hold
We know
water.
that's
This is the
dangerous.
upstate of South Carolina.
They don't want
I
to lift
signed the
this
bill.
dangerous.
I
It's
protected
Do you
the
know
girls.
South
She
Carolinians?
did not do
you
it.
know
I
South
know that.
It's
Carolinians?
dangerous. Period.
No, no, no. You are not going to talk about my state like that because I will tell you for a fact. South Carolinians never allowed that to happen, and we did not have that issue at the time. What I have always said is boys go into a boys' bathroom, girls go into a girls' bathroom. But hold on one second. I also say that biological boys shouldn't be playing in girls' sports, and I will do everything I can to stop that because it's the women's issue of our time.
It's not. Imagine thinking the women's issue of our time is that.
Thank you, guys. We're going to move on. Mr. Ramaswamy, when discussing your Hindu faith in September, you seem to take a shot at Ambassador Haley, who is also Indian American and who converted to Christianity as an adult. You said, an easy thing for me to do, being a politician, is to shorten my name, profess to be a Christian, and then run. Make Vivek Vicky or whatever, end quote. Are you questioning Nikki Haley's Christian convictions? And why has your campaign made a point of referring to Ambassador Haley by her given first name, Nimarata, even though she's gone by Nikki for her whole life?
Well, my whole deal is if Nikki Haley, of all people, should know how to pronounce my name correctly, the rest of the news media can learn it. My deal is I'll call her Nikki when she can say my own name right. And that's our little fun side bet there. Here's what I will say is deeper. I don't question her faith, but I question her authenticity. And I think that's deeper here. We were just talking about the trans issue. This is a symptom of a deeper cancer in American life, identity politics. This new religion that says your race, your gender, and your sexuality are your identity. It is anti-American. It is meritocratic. It's anti-meritocratic, and it is dividing this country to a breaking point. And I've spoken about this to the left. My books are all about this. I've preached this to the left, but it's even worse when Republicans try to play the same game. We're talking about that trans issue. And Nikki Haley's campaign launch video sounded like a woke Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send her kids to die so she can buy a bigger house. This is the problem. Using identity politics more effectively than Kamala Harris is a form of intellectual fraud. And it actually needs to end. There's our donor puppet masters wielding their puppet right up here tonight. This is how this game is played. The puppet masters put up their puppet,
don't
and I
like when you bring facts to the table,
in this party. It has been a cancer coming from the left, and I'm sick and tired of the double standards the people of this country are too. Having 2 X chromosomes does not immunize you from criticism.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Governor Haley, would you like to respond?
No. It's not worth my time to respond to him.
You have been using identity politics at every step.
She's right. She's very much right.
Sir, we're not going to give you a response to the question that was to you.
Okay, we got to move on to this. Now, by arrangement with the Republican National Committee, we've got 2 questions for you about the Justice Department and our election system. Here's Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch. Governor Christie, this one's for you.
This guy's nuts. Fitton's out of his mind.
President Trump and many of his supporters claim federal law enforcement agencies have abused his civil rights for the last 8 years by, among other things, spying on him and now prosecuting him while having treated Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden with kid gloves. A recent Gallup poll shows that Americans think more highly of the U.S. Postal Service than they do the FBI or Justice Department. What would you do as president to restore the faith of the American people in these agencies?
Prosecute Trump.
Well, first off, I'm the only person on this stage who's actually done a job in the Department of Justice. I was the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey in the 5th largest office in this country, appointed by President Bush on September 10th, 2001. And it was an extraordinary time in this country to be on the front lines of fighting the greatest attack against our country since Pearl Harbor. And I'm proud of the 7 years I spent in the Justice Department. And one of the reasons I am is because I had an attorney general when I came in named John Ashcroft. And John Ashcroft stood up and told each and every one of us our job was to do one thing, to make sure justice was done every day, regardless of partisanship, regardless of gender or race or any other consideration. And that's what we did for 7 years. And at a time when our country was at its greatest moment of danger in the last 40 years, we did exactly that. And there was not another domestic terrorist attack on this soil. So what I would do as president, having had that experience, and the only one who's had that experience, is to pick an attorney general who will absolutely do the same thing that John Ashcroft did, to pick U.S. attorneys who will only care about making sure that justice is done without regard to any other consideration but the facts that are presented and whether someone is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and the government can prove it. We have had attorneys general like Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and Jeff Sessions, and now our current attorney general, who have not met that standard.
And the only way you restore people's faith in the justice system is to put someone like that in charge of the Justice Department, and then as president to get the hell out of the way on anything that involves criminal investigations. If a president's involved in...
Oh, God. What on earth? Oh, God, it's Glitches McGee. Look at this. Let's refresh. What a nightmare. Did you see that? I have a backup stream, so everybody relax. Let's go here. Here we go.
Like Florida and some of the other states that have done a good job. But until then, we have to
Oh,
do that.
no.
And then just on the Justice Department and FBI. I mean, I remember being, in Iraq working with FBI on the ground and being, and then I was a special assistant. I used to have such a high regard for these agencies. What they did to Donald Trump with the Russia collusion was one of the biggest abuses of power in the history of our country. These agencies need to be cleaned out. With me, you'll have a new FBI director on day one. We're going to clear out the DOJ, the IRS, all these places. Buckle your seatbelts. There's going to be a new sheriff in town.
Thank you. All right, we got to do a quick break. We're going to come back in 1 minute. China up next.
China. They will be talking.
I appreciate everybody chilling off up in here. I appreciate it. Like I say, y'all, this is the Cannabis Conservative Show, Burn Live Show, where I keep y'all connected. You know, hashtag these red eyes, keep it underage, smoking off social media, killing myself with y'all entertainment, sitting here with friends and family, starting a cannabisation. We are having a debate. I have 40 people up in my Cannabis Conservative page. I just started this page not too long ago because, like I said, I started off just wanting to talk about weed and smoke with guys, and then I started seeing all these true problems that we're actually having in America, and I was like, man, I don't mind smoking and actually talking about things that truly matter. So I wanted to sit up here and discuss things that matter. It was hard to find a group, so I just put two things that I am. I am a conservative person. You know what I'm saying? I love cannabis. So I just thought about putting both of them together and sitting up here. And that's why I say having a cannabis session with you guys. And I appreciate everybody chilling up here with me. I'm going to continue this going. Everybody that liked the page, all the comments, I highly appreciate everybody doing it. You know what I'm saying? I never thought I had this many people up in here. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it. I do this for free and don't ask for nothing. Just enjoy yourself, guys. Please, please, please keep the comments up. For as the debate, man, I think some of this stuff is getting a little crazy and out of hand.
About next. All right, well,
getting a little crazy and out of hand for sure. That's going on. I'm gonna just do it like this. I know it's a little messed up with my camera, but so far, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to the transgender subject, I think the grooming in the schools, the cutting off the genital parts is going totally overboard. I think they need to chill out, sit down with that, and understand, like, y'all really changing people's livelihood. I did hear about California where a little kid can run away and go to California to get a sex change without nobody's consent. I don't know if y'all know about that. That is happening right now. So you got a lot of people up here in America who probably arguing with their parents, feeling some type of way, and can run to California and get something done about it. The sport things, y'all have seen a lot of, I don't know if y'all seen reports, but there's a lot of people that's getting injured by these men that are playing with these girls. You know what I'm saying? Some girls have been beating boys. I have seen the reports too, but you really got to think about, like, the danger, excuse me, pardon myself, the danger you putting yourself in when it comes to sitting here playing against another gender and thinking that it's okay. And I just think about the safety parts of it. You do have one country doing Olympics that gave the transgender their own segment and nobody wanted to sign up for it. So you do want to feel like you want to come here and dominate somebody and take over an agenda. That's up to you. I don't think that's cool. I think that you should sit back and really be responsible and think about the hurt or the humility that you put into somebody when you sit up here and think that you can go against a whole nother sex just because your mind tells you that you're another sex. I'm just saying that's how I see that situation. I think them guys kind of handled it pretty good, but you understand this is more set up to where they just want to say, hey, they just want everybody to say, you know what, let's just be okay with all the gender and everybody cross amongst each other. We will be okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We can sit up here and have a good time. Let's sit back and chill and we'll have a good time. Now, if that's how you feel, okay, 2 thumbs up. I'm not going to hate against you. I'm not going to sit up here and criticize you and throw everything at you like you're the wrong. But I do think we need to sit up here and realize hurting ourselves in a surgery type of way is what's happening and what's taking over, especially at a young age. Y'all are hey, I appreciate all of y'all with these comments. People in my other group chats on my other pages, if y'all not understanding my Cannabis Conservative page on Facebook, I had up to damn near 40-some people up here. We was up here rocking. The comments was pretty good. I was sitting back laughing. I don't know where they went. I guess they realized they seen a black guy. They someone ran out like, ah. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I had to say it. It was kind of like, where'd y'all go? But who cares? You know what I'm saying? Y'all that stay, y'all putting in these comments. I highly appreciate it. These are some funny comments. And y'all are telling the truth. Y'all seen it for your own eyes. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate y'all chilling with me. I think this is important if you don't know who you want to decide to pick as a candidate. Some of y'all in here might not like Trump. You might think he's disgusting. You might not know that Vicky Ramaswamy will be the youngest candidate if he ran against Trump or ran against Biden to run to the White House. He'd be 38 years old. This be something that some people don't know. DeSantis will be another young person that's running for candidate. I hear a lot of people always talking about they want young candidates, and there's 2 young candidates, and they're up here, and y'all get to hear them. And we finna get back up into it and rock this mother. All right.
Debate of 2023. We're going to talk about our college campuses, starting with you, Ambassador Haley.
Oh, boy.
House Republicans
I thought they
yesterday
said
hauled
China.
elite university presidents up to Capitol Hill to answer for the displays of anti-Semitism on college campuses.
It was bad.
These leaders, including the president of Harvard, were asked whether calling for the genocide of the Jews would violate school policies against harassment and intimidation.
Going to cover this tomorrow.
All of them said it would depend on the context, including whether that speech veers into conduct. How do you think these schools and the rest of society should balance the imperative of free speech against the need to prevent radical activists from harassing and intimidating others?
It was disgusting to see what happened. If this had been the KKK that was doing protests on those campuses, every one of those college presidents would have been up in arms. This is just as bad. The idea that they would go and allow that kind of pro-Hamas protest or agree with the genocide of Jews and try and say that they needed context on that, there is no context to that. This is what we need to do to deal with it. First of all, we have got to get foreign money out of our universities. You've got Arab money, you've got Chinese money, you've got others. We need to go to every university and say, you either take foreign money or you take American money, but the days of taking both are over. The second thing we need to do is Biden made a mistake not including anti-Zionism in the definition of anti-Semitism. If you don't think that Israel has a right to exist, that is anti-Semitic. We will change the definition so that every government, every school has to acknowledge the definition for what it is. The third thing is we really do need to ban TikTok once and for all. And let me tell you why. For every 30 minutes that someone watches TikTok,
Won't happen.
every day, they become 17% more anti-Semitic, more pro-Hamas based on doing that. We now know that 50% of adults 18 to 25 think that Hamas was warranted in what they did with Israel. That's a problem. When campuses also don't go and protect when they have these rallies and you've got students that are scared, we need to go to these universities and say, if you're not going to protect these students, if you're not going to acknowledge anti-Semitism, we'll take your tax-exempt status away. That'll fix it, and that'll take care of it for good.
Staying with you, Ambassador Haley. On October 6th, the Israeli government thought it had a clear-eyed view of the threat from Hamas. In fact, according to the New York Times, it even had Hamas's attack plan and dismissed it as an aspiration. The Israelis were wrong. In our country, the FBI director told the Senate panel just yesterday that he sees, quote, blinking red lights everywhere.
One national security task that I will do as president, and we will succeed. The 21st century needs to be an American century. We cannot let it be a Chinese century.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
I think we need to be
I'm
clear
coming
on,
to you
I'll be
next.
clear on the same issue, if I
Okay,
may.
I'm coming to you next on Taiwan. You said if you want to stop Xi from invading Taiwan, quote, let's open a branch of the NRA in Taiwan and put an AR-15 in the hands of every family and train them how to use it. That will give Xi a taste of American exceptionalism, end quote.
Thanks.
The National Police in Taiwan announced a zero-gun policy last year. Is this a serious policy proposal? And if it isn't, why do you keep repeating it?
Well, it's part of a broader deterrence strategy. And so I think I'm going to respectfully disagree with Ron here. I think the next U.S. president needs to be crystal clear that at least for the foreseeable future, the U.S. will absolutely defend Taiwan. And it is with that clarity that we actually achieve deterrence. But I have a broader strategy than that. We need to get on side in our relationship with India, take it to the next level. India has to be able to block the Andaman Sea, which is where China gets most of its Middle Eastern oil supplies. That's critical. I also do believe the Second Amendment is a critical way of preventing foreign autocrats from being able to, it's worked in America, why wouldn't it work in Taiwan? So it is part of a broader strategy. But I do think that we need to be specific about our deterrence strategy, or else Xi Jinping is just encroaching by the day. And the reason why we're not doing it for China, I want to be crystal clear, is because we're scared. Why are we scared? Because we depend on them for our modern way of life. Why do we depend on them for our modern way of life? It's because Nikki Haley's latest friends like Larry Fink have created commingled economies with BlackRock telling Exxon and Chevron they can't drill here, while being a shareholder of PetroChina, not applying those same constraints in China. So it is our economic dependence on China that makes us scared. If that were a Russian spy balloon, we'd have shot it down in an instant. If that were a Russian spy base in Cuba, we'd be actually going hard on them instead of turning the other way as we are with China. So it comes back down to that economic dependence. We cannot depend on them for our pharmaceuticals, our semiconductors, and people have been lied to for a long time. Our own military, the F-35 jets that we make in this country, depend on China, and it's going to take an outsider to fix that broken establishment.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Ambassador Haley, would you like to respond?
I mean, when it comes to China and Taiwan, the one way that we keep China from going into Taiwan is, one, make sure that we win in Ukraine, that we protect our friends, but also let China know that they'll be hell to pay if they go into Taiwan. They need to know that there is going to be a force that's going to go against them. And they need to know it's not just going to be the United States. That is why we need to build our partnerships with India, with South Korea, with Japan, with the Philippines, with Australia. We need to start pulling that alliance together. And the first way we do that is we need to make sure that on day one, we look at the fact, if China pulled the rug out from under us tomorrow, would we be ready? Think about what happened during COVID. Everybody told you to wear a mask. They were made in China. Everybody told you to take a COVID test. They were made in China. Everybody went and, I mean, everything that happened, if you go to the drugstore, all those medicines are made in China. We have to make sure that we are not relying on China for anything related to our national security, which means let's start focusing on doing deals with our friends now.
Thank you, Ambassador. Governor Christie, I'd like you to weigh in on that. And do you think arming every family in Taiwan with an AR-15 is a plausible policy?
You know, I don't think we have constitutional authority over Taiwan to give them a Second Amendment. I think they can only do that for themselves. But look, I want to be really clear. Once again, I want to play the role of actually answering your question, which is if China went after Taiwan, you're absolutely right. I would, as president, have us go militarily and defend them. Secondly, I'm not afraid, based upon those economic relationships, to do that, because these economic relationships mean nothing. Nothing. If what's going to happen is that China is going to come and act in that region of the world however they see fit. It's not right. And I'll say this about what I heard from Nikki earlier. She said that Donald Trump was good on trade. He wasn't. And the proof that he wasn't good on trade with China is that all he did was impose tariffs, which raised the prices for every American. You want to know what has contributed to inflation in this country? Yes, it's more government spending. Yes, it's the fact that we're printing too much money. Absolutely. But it is also the increase in prices that were driven by Donald Trump's tariffs. And one last thing. You can't say he was good on trade because he didn't change one Chinese policy in the process. He failed on it.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Governor DeSantis, switching subjects here. For 15 years, Republicans have been burned by politicians' promises to repeal Obamacare. Trump repeatedly promised to replace it with, quote, something terrific, but failed to propose anything. You're now promising something better, but Florida has more uninsured people than almost any other state. Why should Americans trust you more than any other Republicans who've disappointed them on this issue?
Well, I think we have millions of Americans who do not have access to affordable health care. And it's not just getting some type of card and Medicaid, because a lot of times they don't even get access to doctors. Do you actually get access to care? The other thing is we have millions and millions of people who don't have access to good doctors and good hospitals. Florida did not expand Obamacare. I think the states that did that, I think are struggling financially. So that, yes, we declined to do that. And I don't think that that was the right policy to do. But we are going to go after the cost. You're paying too much for everything. We've actually addressed this in Florida in some ways, but you need price transparency. You need to hold the pharmaceuticals accountable. You need to hold big insurance and big government accountable. And we're going to get that done. I think it's very, very important economically. I think it's very, very important for the country that we get that done.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to, this is a very personal issue to our family. I wanted to take actually a minute to recognize my wife who's here today. Badass surgeon. She did a bunch of cases with cancer survivors earlier today, flew here to be tonight. We'll be back at 7 a.m. in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow, taking care of those patients in the OR. And on the front lines of people who have actually not swallowed for years. And here's something that's awful that's happening in our healthcare system. They'll pay for anything like feeding tubes, doctors to be pill pushers, but for the procedures that can actually make these patients better, we have a broken healthcare system that doesn't pay for it. My wife, Apoorva, in many cases, does not get paid for those procedures. She does them anyway because it's the right thing to do. But that does not work system-wide. So here's the answer. We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a sick care system. We need to start having diverse insurance options in a competitive marketplace that cover actual health, preventative medicine, diet, exercise, lifestyle, and otherwise. And here's how we deliver that. End the antitrust exemptions for health insurance companies. That's where the competitive marketplace begins. That's crony capitalism, and that's the answer.
Okay, through Operation Warp Speed, the Trump administration and private industry developed a COVID vaccine in record time. The program protected the drug companies from virtually all lawsuits over vaccine injuries. The government has a program to compensate for such harm, but critics say it is a black hole of bureaucracy. 12,000 claims filed, 10% decided, only 8 payouts so far, in a forum with no right to counsel, no hearings, no appeals. Mr. Trump says he's very proud of Warp Speed. Should he be?
Well, this question specifically on liability goes back to actually Reagan. And Reagan is a president who I admire. Many of us do. I think that reviving that spirit is in many ways going to be good for this country in so many ways. But one of the areas where he erred was this special form of lobbying to say that one kind of manufacturer, a vaccine manufacturer, cannot be sued for their product liability. So I have pledged, it is part of my legislative agenda, we will repeal that, just like we will repeal every other form of crony capitalism. People who have been harmed by those vaccines deserve accountability. They cannot be forgotten Americans. And I think one of the top lessons we learned from that COVID pandemic is that free speech in this country is most important in those alleged times of emergency. If we had been allowed to openly debate the merits of those vaccines, they would have been never mandated in the way that they were. And in general, I don't think that we should want capitalism and democracy to share the same bed anymore. It's time for a clean divorce. Let companies be companies, but I don't like the crony capitalism. This dates back a long time in both parties. And I think that we need to end the lobbying. And I personally believe that if you have been working in the government, you should not lobby that government for 10 years. If you have been a government elected official doing deals with companies, be they Boeing or be they pharmaceutical companies, you should not join the board of that company for 10 years after. The former chairman of the FDA, the leader commissioner of the FDA, ended up on the board of Pfizer. Nikki Haley did deals with Boeing, ends up on the board of Boeing. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. We need some basic principles that end the corruption in government. That's how we got the health insurance exemptions. That's how we got the pharmaceutical product liability exemptions.
thank you.
We end the corruption.
We need a reckoning for what this government did during COVID-19. That includes the mRNA shots. They put it out. It was experimental. People wanted it. Then the government started trying to mandate it, to say you don't have a right to put food on your table if you don't take an mRNA shot that was under emergency use. They tried to take nurses away. Now in Florida, we blocked that. We provided protections for everybody so that they wouldn't lose their job. You also have the FDA approving an mRNA shot for 6-month-old babies. There was no data to support that. They're doing it because big pharma will make money. So I'm going to go in there, CDC, NIH, FDA. We're going to clean house. There's going to be a reckoning because right now nobody's been held accountable for any of the damage. And they're going to try to do it again. When I'm president, this will never happen to our country ever again.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis. And we will be right back in just a few moments for our closing statements from our 4 candidates at the Republican primary debate.
Man, what kind of gas did you put in this thing? It really takes off. Pretty fun, right? That's because
Christie is anti-Trump and they love Trump. If Trump dies, it would be Nikki Haley. But otherwise, Trump has this wrapped up. As far as best performance, despite the fact that they barely let him talk, I think it was Chris Christie. But the real winner kind of continues to be Donald Trump. And we're going to have our first votes just weeks from now. We'll be covering all of it. My prediction is Trump just runs away with this thing, assuming that he remains alive. Now, by the way, I don't know that we need to focus too much on it. Lots of anti-Semitism in the chat, lots of attacks, lots of horrible comments of all kinds. We're banning people when we see it. People who then email me saying I violated your First Amendment rights. I'm not the government. This is a live stream. Okay, sir, this is a live stream. That's what's going on. And the biggest thank
Right on. Sorry, y'all, once again. I hope we got a little sound now. I have stepped away. I having all type of problems. Step away and you just forget how to work your whole program. But like I said, once again, I'm sorry everybody. Appreciate everybody up in here. Sorry there was no sound for like 3 or 4 minutes. We back. I fixed everything. We got everything, and y'all stayed around. I wish I knew how to appreciate every last one of y'all up in here. So at least Rachel, Derek, Catherine, Mark, I appreciate y'all because y'all been commenting up in here. I appreciate Susan, Catherine, Jill. Appreciate y'all commenting up in here. Appreciate the 11 likes. Y'all didn't have to. Understandable. I hate to say I do not know. I hope they talked about some China stuff. I hope y'all at least got to hear it. That's what they were supposed to have been talking about. They did not actually come back and lead off with the China discussion. They was talking about something else, and then I had a phone call I had to take. Like you said, most likely the person that's going to win and run away with this is Donald Trump. Y'all know how he is. He's having a speech right now in Florida, late night chilling, doing his thing. So as they get back to the last and final half, probably most likely the debate, let's get into it.
Here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We're going to do one final question before closing statements, and we want to get you all in. So we're going to give you 45 seconds for this last one.
Wow.
Governor Christie, we're going to start with you. Which former president would you draw inspiration from for your own presidency, and why?
I would draw inspiration from Ronald Reagan. In the last year, I've spent a lot of time writing a book about President Reagan that's going to be called What Would Reagan Do? That book's going to come out early in 2024. And what I learned more than anything else was that Ronald...
He won't be busy with this anymore, so it'll be fine.
Ronald Reagan stood up for the truth, whether it was popular or unpopular at the moment. In 1964, he stood up against the John Birch Society when it was very unpopular to the party to do it, but he would not put up with our party standing for lies and deceit, even it gave him political progress. That's the kind of president that I will be, and I would draw that inspiration from the 40th president of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
There you go.
Ambassador Haley.
Well, I have to say, too, I think George Washington, when you look at the responsibilities he had of how do you go and take on this great American experiment and make sure that the people are protected. And they always knew that government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people. It was never meant to be all things to all people. And then you look at Abraham Lincoln and you look at the challenges and you look at the division that happened in our country and the ability to lead in spite of the loud noises and say, what will bring out the best in people to get us to go forward is always something that's important. And I think we need that now more than ever.
Governor DeSantis.
Reagan, Washington, Lincoln, excellent. One of the guys I'll take inspiration from is Calvin Coolidge. Now, people don't talk about him a lot. He's one of the few presidents that got almost everything right. He understood the proper role of the federal government under the Constitution. We need to restore the U.S. Constitution as the centerpiece of our national life. And that requires a president who understands the original understanding of the Constitution, who has a good sense of the Bill of Rights, and who knows how we've gone off track with this massive fourth branch of government, this administrative state, which is imposing its will on us and is being weaponized against us. So Silent Cal knew the proper role of the federal government. The country was in great shape when he was president of the United States, and we can learn a lot from Calvin Coolidge.
Over to you, Mr. Ramaswamy, to conclude our history lesson.
Sure. Well, I will say Ron picked a president who was born on July 4th. I'll pick one who died on July 4th. It's Thomas Jefferson.
Wow.
He was 33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. And you all are sitting on a swivel chair today. He invented the swivel chair while he was at it, while writing that Declaration of Independence. That's that founding spirit that we miss, that we're the pioneers. were the explorers, the guy who sent them out on the Lewis and Clark expeditions. And I think a lot about what would Thomas Jefferson say to today's Republican Party. And I think one thing he'd remind us of.
He would say, where are all of your slaves? I can't find them anywhere.
Ideological discussions we're having in our party is freedom of speech. You get to express your mind freely, no matter how heinous the opinion. Thomas Jefferson understood that.
All right,
He's an inspiration
thank you,
for me.
sir. Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. And believe it or not, it's time for closing statements. Governor Christie, would you like to begin?
Sure, thank you. I want you all to kind of picture in your minds Election Day. You'll all be heading to the polls to vote, and that's something that Donald Trump will not be able to do because he will be convicted of felonies before then, and his right to vote will be taken away. You know, look, here's the bottom line. You can boo about it all you like and continue to deny reality. But if we deny reality as a party, we're going to have 4 more years of Joe Biden.
Wow.
When my colleagues here raised their hands and said they would support him, even if he was a convicted felon, the bigger problem with it is they were confirming the lies he's told to the American people. If you're too timid to take on Trump, believe me, others will see that timidity. Xi, Putin, and the Ayatollah, the border crossers on the southern border, and the criminals in our streets. They'll sense that timidity,
got a
and
real
they'll take
whole
advantage of
speech.
that failure of leadership.
Damn.
We need to get back to an old American idea that every person is responsible for their own conduct, even a president. I'll be the kind of president who has the humility that knows that you work for the people. It's not the other way around. I will earn your trust. I want to earn your vote.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Mr. Ramaswamy?
I'll use this to just address a topic we didn't talk about tonight, but I think is one of the most important topics that needs to be discussed. That is this climate change agenda that is shackling this country like a set of handcuffs. I said it in the first debate, and I stand by it. The climate change agenda is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. That's what we have to see. 98% reduction in the climate disaster-related deaths in the last century. 8 times as many people are going to die of cold temperatures this year than warm ones. Yet against that backdrop, there's an issue coming up in Iowa. It's core to Iowa farmers. I met Kim Junker, Kathy Stockdale, and other farmers who are about to have a carbon capture pipeline built across their land using eminent domain to do it. That's unconstitutional and it's wrong. And if you thought COVID was bad, what's coming with this climate agenda is far worse. We should not be bending the knee to this new religion. That is what it is. It is a substitute for a modern religion. We are flogging ourselves and losing our modern way of life, bowing to this new god of climate, and that will end on my watch.
Thank
It's
you,
the most critical
Ambassador
issue
Haley.
that's coming up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our country is in chaos. We see it on the southern border. We see it on our streets in our cities. We see it on college campuses. We feel it with our economy, with inflation and with debt. And we feel it around the world with wars in Europe and within the Middle East. We have to stop the chaos, but you can't defeat Democrat chaos with Republican chaos. And that's what Donald Trump gives us. My approach is different. No drama, no vendettas, no whining. I envision an America where we're protected from illegal immigration and Chinese infiltration. I envision an America where we unleash our economy and we reject socialism. But more importantly, I envision an America where we rediscover our national purpose and our pride.
Thank you.
I crush Joe Biden
Thank
in
you.
the polls. And
Thank
if you
you.
give me this chance, we will crush him in November and take our
Thank
country
you,
back.
Governor.
Go to
Thank you,
NikkiHaley.com.
Ambassador Haley.
Thank you.
Governor DeSantis.
We are in jeopardy of being the first generation of Americans to leave to our kids and grandkids in America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. I refuse to sit idly by and let that happen. But we got to have people that are going to be willing to fight the people that are doing this to us. You can't be these establishment Republicans that just cave at the first sign of opposition. I'll fight for you. We also need to win again as a party. Yes, win the election, which we've struggled to do, but also win on these big issues. And nobody has defeated these people more than what I have done in the state of Florida on issue after issue. We have won and we have won big, and that's what we'll do for you. We also need leadership. Leadership is not about doing what's easy. It's about being willing to set out that vision, knowing they're going to shoot arrows at you. They're going to come at you. I will
Thank
fight
you.
the good fight. I will keep the faith, and I will finish the race. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, all of you.
Wow. Well, an abortive debate, completely abortive debate.
Democrats are probably loving, like, yes, they're loving this debate. Democrats are probably loving this debate. They're making fools of themselves. They're idiots. They're dumb. Like I said, y'all, I think some of these issues were handled pretty good. I think some of the issues was handled pretty well. Maybe there were a couple of arguing, bickering, going back and forth that you probably not appreciated, but in a debate on a stage, that's what you're gonna get. Now, I have heard heavy and high profiler podcasters like, man, they should sit down on a stage with a podcaster like what's his name? Jeff Rogan. Sit down on a Jeff Rogan show and two candidates sit there and duke it out on a Jeff Rogan show for 2.5 hours. Now that'll be a good debate. You know, on a PBD podcast, sit down there and duke it out for a couple hours. You know, that'll be a good podcast. Because Vicky Ramaswamy is going on all type of podcasts. He's sitting there and he's having conversation with people. He's talking about things that matter. He's getting to get close with you and me. You know what I'm saying? I would love to ask for Vicky Ramaswamy to come here, but my place is horrible. It's shitty. I'm just starting out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not finna sit up here and embarrass myself. Plus, I ain't even got a good camera. I'm hard trying to work on putting up a camera. But to look at these candidates and really say that these candidates are trying to fight for things that you feel are important, and y'all should take the time out to look at it, invest in some of these candidates. At least look it up and see, do you like what they like? Are they talking about the things that matter to you? Some of the things they said did matter to me. Some of the things they talked about, I did like it. I think when you look at voting and seeing how many people say who won tonight, who won? People are going to say Nikki Haley. I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of people are going to say Nikki Haley. She was confident. Every time she was attacked by everybody on stage, she still stood her ground. Even Chris Christie poured that out, that they attacked her. So yet again, they're going to say that she stood her ground. She did her thing. And people are going to appreciate that stuff for her standing her ground. So that's why I think they're going to say that she won. Vicky Ramaswamy, I personally think stood out because he stood on his thing. He still backed up his old comments that he said on podcasts and everywhere else. He did tell you what he do on day one. He hasn't really changed his format, and he stands firm. He stands up. He stands tall, confidence, a good smile. Did y'all notice that one scene a while back where DeSantis was standing? He had standing to the side, he had a little lip poked out. I was like, man, look, you see him up there with his lip poked out and stuff like that. I don't know, but we all know it's Trump. Now, if these candidates ran after Trump, then, oh man, you know, it'll be a different story. It'll be a different outcome. I guarantee people will be changing their tunes if Trump was not in the middle of running for president. And, you know, there's nowhere else that I can say, or look at that. You can say yes or no, put your thumbs up, put your thumbs down. If you like him, what you like, you know what I'm saying? If you think. No, I don't know. What do you think? You think Trump will be, if Trump was not up, you know what I'm saying, we'd be really looking at these candidates as they really had a chance. Do anybody else up there even have a chance at getting at Trump? That'll be the next question. Like, is anybody up there having a good chance? Anybody else up there popping? That'll be a good idea. I wonder, what if Joe Biden's back there? See, that'd have been smart. I think that'd have been smart. If I was like Joe Biden, I would have been like, you know what? After they did this, I would have came out, Probably did me a 30-minute speech real quick. Blah, wow. Went back in. Because you know what I'm saying? He do got to put on a campaign sooner or later. What you said. Thank you. Vicky Ramaswamy, last debate, killed it. He killed it this debate. You know what I'm saying? He is a very good person that sticks out like a good thumb. I wouldn't say stick out like a sore thumb, but that's bad to say, but he does stick out like a good thumb. I do like how he does present himself. And if Trump wasn't in the way, like I say, I think he would be the next good candidate to run for president. I wouldn't mind saying, hey, y'all, let's thinking about voting for him. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Now, people would look at me and probably say, nah, that ain't what I'm really looking at. Maybe he's too young. He's a foreign young candidate. He really didn't do too much over here in America. You know, he's a billionaire. So, you know what I'm saying? Only thing he's going to do is turn himself into a lobbyist. Once he get into office, he's going to be nothing but a puppet too. So people have a lot of things that they would throw out and a lot of different idea things that they would say. I'm just looking. I want y'all to see this face that I'm looking at and be like, wow, what type of face is this? Y'all see this lady in the middle, like, what type of face is that? That's just, if that ain't the most giddiest face, it's like, I gotta check this story out. Y'all know I don't know what's going on. So
moving to a new
I normally
state
do.
is exciting, but choosing the wrong movers can seriously burst your bubble. Did you know that dishonest moving
Most of the time, I may not know exactly the
Okay, I am
story
not a
and
lawyer,
crime.
but
that's
even
going
I
on.
know that if you are under indictment and facing a trial, it is best not to speak publicly about the case for fear of hurting one's own defense. We all know Donald Trump has not learned that lesson, leading to 2 gag orders being put in place. And some of his co-defendants in the Georgia election interference case have decided to follow his lead. There's Harrison Floyd, the leader of Black Voices for Trump, who almost saw his bond agreement revoked last month following a series of social media posts that prosecutors argued intimidated and threatened witnesses in the case. And now Trevian Kutti, the former publicist for Kanye West, appears to be doing the same. Kutti, you may remember, faces charges involving pressuring Georgia election worker Ruby Freeman to falsely confess to Trump's baseless voter fraud claims or face dire consequences. Last week, Kutti took to Instagram Live, and while never referring to Freeman by name, appeared to directly threaten her.
Everybody's alive. There's no murder weapon. As a matter of fact, there's a woman sitting somewhere who knows this whole thing is a lie. Who knows I never did anything to her? Who knows who knows she begged me for help? There's a woman sitting somewhere who knows that I'm going to her whole life up when this is done.
Joining me now is Katie Phang, host of the Katie Phang Show on MSNBC. I think we're both SMHing. This was her mugshot. The other thing she said in this live is that she practiced this, that this was purposeful.
For 2
and that she
hours.
She wanted to look like this. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, what are y'all thinking? What are y'all thinking? What are y'all thinking? What are y'all thinking? Listen to the speech, how she said that. Y'all know, ladies, if there's ladies up in here, I don't know if there's ladies and men. I'm not up, but y'all know how y'all get. Y'all know how y'all get when y'all get to ranting on social media. Y'all know how y'all get when y'all get to talking on social media, when y'all get to saying how y'all feel, when y'all get to pumping y'all chest on social media.
As
It's
a matter of fact, there's a
believable.
woman sitting somewhere who knows this whole thing is a lie. Who knows I never did anything to her.
Do this sound believable? I'm a little curious. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Who am I to judge, right? Who am I to judge? But y'all know, like, who knows? Who knows? And you know when they say I'm gonna fuck you up after this is over. You know I can't speak about it, but hey, you know who you are. This ain't hood strikes right here. This is capital strikes. capital ass whooping. This is capital ass whooping with it. Like they said 2-0. Man. Who are we kidding, ladies and gentlemen, when this trial and they want to take somebody to jail just because they shocked the world, just because they stood on what they stood on, just because January 6th was so-called insurrection, just because they feel like they need to lock a person up. And I think he'll be facing more time than anybody ever faced in history. But this lady right here, I don't know. If we was looking for the female Joker face, we sure did find her. But I ain't trying to make fun of nobody. I do apologize if I offended her and her family. But I'm just saying that's right there.
I'm just gonna let you talk, Katie, because I'm not a lawyer. But I know that was dumb to do an Instagram live and basically threaten the witness maybe again. Go ahead, talk.
How do y'all know she threatened a witness? Did she say the name of the witness?
So when I was a prosecutor, Joy, I used to tell juries, I can't promise to give you a smart defendant, but I'm giving you a defendant. And that's Trevian Kutti, right? She's not a smart defendant. None of them can be smart if they drank the Trump Kool-Aid and helped in a conspiracy to do what they did, right? But Trevian Kutti, you mentioned it in the setup, right? The one possible out she may have is that she didn't actually refer to Ruby Freeman by.
What's funny, and I'm going to point this out, no offense, but if this lady, yet again, is a lawyer, y'all, she's a lawyer. So you trying to tell me if you was on that case, if she was on that case, prosecuting Trump, oh man, it'd be over. It'd be a wrap. It'd be done. It'd been done last week. You know what I'm saying? That's how they be finding these other lawyers. And it'd be funny. And I'd be kind of curious to think, like, when this trial was getting put up there and they was looking for lawyers to go and take these trial on, these lawyers raise their hand, be like, hey, choose me, pick me. I take down Trump. Now we know some people did. They're actually standing on theirs. But people like her, I'm just curious. I'm just, we know we ain't gonna know the answer, but I'm just weirded out to find out. Did you stand up and say
we're
that?
not
Hey,
stupid, and neither
I'm
is Judge
trying to take down
McAfee,
Trump.
and certainly not DA Fani Willis. And so the reason why I say that is Fani Willis could seek revocation of Trevian Kutti's bond status because her bond conditions that Kutti stipulated to, meaning she agreed to, is that she's not allowed to threaten, intimidate, harass any victim, any witness, any co-defendant in the case. But what's problematic is
I feel like y'all are just alluding to that she's talking about the witness, and she probably can be talking about anybody else that's outside. Don't y'all know it's a person that tell a person that tell a person that tell a person to do something? Okay. I really, really feel like they're alluding to the witness, but the person that they're talking about is not alluding to the witness. Now, that's how you make a person feel dumb and stupid. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong, but I really got this deep down in my heart. Like, y'all talking about a person that Instagram rant was not talking about. Y'all talking about two different
posts
people.
on social media as well. It's not just Instagram Live. She posts on Twitter as well. And so she's just inviting more trouble. And she is, it's an indication of a systemic problem that we're having with these co-defendants in Fulton County, running from Trump to Harrison Floyd to Trevian Kutti. They don't keep.
But where's the freedom of speech? Right? Freedom of speech? Anybody? Is we forgetting about freedom of speech? Is we not remembering that freedom of speech does exist and that, I'm allowed to say anything. I didn't say, and I guarantee she did not say this person's name for some odd reason. If I'm lying, I'm fine, whatever. But I'm really believing, I'm really having this entity that she's talking about the wrong person. I'm not gonna hold too deep off in this conversation like it's real deep. I'm not gonna go there. You know what I'm saying? Because this is not too dog important for other people that's facing the same cases as Trump, but also facing different allegations of different procedures still. It's funny. That's funny. And not to be sexist, but it's a lot of females on these cases. That's the only way y'all can make. Is that the truth? Oh, I heard about this Jadakiss thing, but that ain't got nothing to do with politics. My audience is probably like, man, I don't worry about no Jadakiss and no gambling. So this happened while I went live earlier, and I wasn't able to cover. This happened out here. This literally happened right down the street. I'm so sorry that I didn't cover this.
Police on campus responded at 11:46 a.m. on Wednesday to a confirmed active shooter at Beam Hall, the home of the Lee Business School. UNLV alerted students and staff to the shooter via text stating, "This is not a test, run, hide, and fight." We spoke to a student that was in Beam Hall who heard gunshots ring out.
There's an active shooter in our building.
I heard like 5-6 gunshots in our building. And then so we locked the door. At that moment, I actually don't know what to do, especially when I hear the gunshots coming closer. It's kind of like you have to make the decision in 2 seconds. Like you either fight or you either, I don't know, sit there and hide.
Students and faculty were evacuated from buildings on campus. Police held a briefing from Metro headquarters where they provided more details.
First, I would like to reiterate to all of you that there is no more ongoing threat to our community here in Las Vegas. UNLV campus police responded to the scene and engaged the suspect immediately right outside of Beam Hall. LVMPD officers also responded simultaneously. I can tell you today, 3 of the victims are confirmed deceased. There is a 4th victim who suffered a gunshot wound and is now currently in Sunrise Hospital, upgraded to stable condition.
A number of victims were transported to local hospitals. Clark County Fire Department also established a family reunification center at the Las Vegas Convention Center North Hall. Responses and tweets from organizations and officials, as you see there, reacting to the news. Traffic surrounding the area and road closures continued as the investigation was ongoing. Events such as a UNLV basketball game and a candlelight vigil for an NHP trooper that were both planned tonight have been canceled. We will be keeping you updated as more news comes in. For the Las Vegas Review-Journal, I'm James Schaefer.
In weather, sponsored by Star Nursery, your garden's partner for every blooming thing. Mostly clear skies with calm winds holding steady from this afternoon are in your forecast for tonight. Lows around 47 degrees. For the rest of the week, we'll stay in the upper 60s, low 70s until Thursday with calm.
I was talking about it earlier, like I said, but I didn't cover it. But there was a mass shooting at this school. There's also was a school shooting, a high school shooting in I do believe that was New York. There was a high school shooting up there. So a lot of things are going down crazily. I don't know what to say. I'm not really wanting to comment without knowing too much information. So people like, oh, you just, I don't want to speak out of turn. I always want to at least get some type of information, learn something for you to just speak and know what's going on. I am just trying to see if I can find that New York one real quick. And if I can, just let y'all see that one, because that went down. But the only thing I do see is more people talking about the Las Vegas high school shooting that just went down. I'm surprised they didn't even talk about that during the debate, actually. Nope. I don't see too many people that are talking about that. But it did go down. I did see that. I just was doing an actual test run, so I didn't want to get too off and deep, and I wasn't really truly set up and prepared for that. Also, a lot of people have been breaking news. And when I get more footage of it, of Chicago and its immigrant problem with y'all, which is a very, very highly problem that's going on, I don't think y'all really understand that the multitude that is up to here is up to the neck with things that are going on. I am trying to find a friend who wants to talk about conspiracy theories and things that are going on and things like that. So I do want to have a conspiracy theory day and talking about some things that are off the chains and things that y'all might consider things that y'all might consider interesting and that are true or may not be true. I don't know. There are a lot of things going on. They got live footage of the Ghazi war that's going on. That'd be weird. Like y'all covering Ghazi war, just live footage like that is popping. Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not gonna hold y'all. I appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been a very, very wonderful show. I do appreciate it. Y'all tuning in. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I might do another show tomorrow, early in the afternoon, late in the evening for y'all. Until next time, I appreciate it. Peace.